Democrats don't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. Republicans can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. A bitch ass nigga can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. You coon ass niggas can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. Listen here, this is a fact of life. I be rapping like Nat Turner came back to life. Grab Donald Trump by the pussy, he ain't acting right. I never run from a conflict, I be glad to fight. It's a very cold world that we living in. Somebody please tell Elizabeth you're not an Indian. You just trying to con them people to get the benefit. Just another immigrant stealing from the Indians. That's some punk ass shit and that's too lame. Now we finna step over to Andrew Yang. And you a sucker, you could never speak for black folks. Fake ass pandering, trying to get the black vote. The Democrats don't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. Republicans can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. A bitch ass nigga can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. You coon ass niggas can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. You know your boy be high off sativa. Kamala wasn't popping, so we said bye, Felicia. She ain't had a right policy. We ain't trying to meet her. Y'all can take Biden too. Bye, we don't need him. We don't need Roland Martin or that coon Al Sharpton. Didn't need Cory Booker from the start, man. I don't fuck with police and no snitch. You know I'm coming with the heat when I spit it. The Democrats don't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. Republicans can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. A bitch ass nigga can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. You coon ass niggas can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. If you ever go to court and this is your luck, try not to get fucked by Benjamin Crump. I know it's hard. You and all go is hard. But who the fuck is Amy Cloak? Put her picture up on the bullseye and start throwing darts. People cut our organs out our bodies, that's a stolen heart. They can't save us from the flood like Noah's Ark. Black lives always matter, we finna go for ours. So then we savages, we don't need to pot the piss. Mike Bloomberg is suck dick with that stop and frisk, bitch. You ain't speaking for us, we don't know you. Bernie Sanders, they get your funky ass on too. The Democrats don't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. Republicans can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. A bitch ass nigga can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me. You coon ass niggas can't speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me.
I'm talking about shout it going crazy. People going crazy in them motherfuckers. Run that shit back, man.
But it's nothing. Nothing about a woman on a day. Man made the car. Man made the train to carry the heavy load. Man made the electrolyte to take us out of the dark. Man made the boat for the water like the 7-millimeter. Man thinks about a little bit of baby girl and a baby boy. And man makes them happy because man makes them dark. But after man make everything we can, do you know that man makes money? To buy from other men. This is a man's world. But
family, greetings. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Frontline Black News. I am your host, Tanya Crowman, and unfortunately, we will not be joined by Lady Che once again. She's not able to get over to her house, so she's basically spending her whole C day by herself. So, if y'all could donate to the doll, that would be awesome. Her cash app is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. And on this episode of the Frontline Black News, we will be discussing several things. First thing is the next U.S. Census is rewriting race in 2030. Then we got Malcolm X Day approved in Nebraska, his birthplace. Then we got Denver Freedom 5280 school update. So this is a Black charter school that has an all-Black curriculum, if you will, and they had to reapply for their funding because they missed the deadline for the grant because the enrollment was so low. Imagine that. Then we got Welton Street Cafe reopening in a historic Five Points district in northeast Denver after over 2 years of not being in operation. And then last but certainly not least, we got our unhoused neighbor / unhoused migrant news and unhoused neighbor migrant suites. So
Okay.
that is what's on the agenda today. Like I said, this lady Chase C Day. Unfortunately, she will not be
Okay.
joining us. But we would really appreciate if y'all donated to our Cash App, and it's scrolling on the bottom of the screen. So, Shabaka, can you please give us an update of what's happening in the Sin City in regards to,
Okay.
I don't know, in regards to the election or the migrant situation or unhoused neighbor
Okay.
situation out there in Vegas?
Okay. Out here in Sin City, we still got one house neighbors out here. Quite naturally, of course, the majority of them are our people. Okay. We are reaching out to New Era, Las Vegas, because Sister Badia out of Detroit had mentioned to me that there is a New Era Las Vegas, and that New Era Detroit has one up there to Oakland and to set a branch up over there. Here in Sin City, they're closing down the Tropicana Hotel. Okay, it will be shut down as of Tuesdays because they're going to tear it down and they're going to build the stadium for the Oakland A's baseball team that's coming to Las Vegas. So therefore, for all our Oakland people, we're sorry we're taking your teams here, but it is a better market. You know what I mean? For then the city of Oakland is blighted. Crime is out of hand there. And then they do have an Asian mayor in Oakland by the name of Xing Dao, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So basically, what is happening is, Black family, is that we're seeing all this marginalization of us, as a race. Okay, it's because everything that we do for ourselves, they're saying we're being racist. For the first place, let's get three things clear here. One is we don't control social media. Two is we don't control no police departments. Three is we don't control no politics on a national or hell or even a statewide level. So therefore, we are in no position to implement any type of racism. For a group of people to be racist, this means that they are controlling institutions to implement racism. Okay, so
to implement their prejudice. See,
Yeah, exactly.
everybody is capable of being prejudiced. Everybody is not capable of being racist. As Dr. Francis Cress Wilson taught us, you have to have institutional power, like Shabaka just said, plus the
Yes.
prejudice. The institutional power is going to be used to enforce the prejudice. We have no
Yeah,
institution
yes,
to
sir.
enforce our prejudice toward non-black people. So until we do, we can't be racist.
Right, because we're not in no position to implement no racism. And the tangibles is 750 trillion fucking dollars.
Yep, cut the goddamn check. Shout out to all the viewers. We appreciate
Oh,
y'all.
absolutely.
We really also appreciate
Absolutely.
Chase, Cash App. We're in dire straits. She wasn't able to make it to my house. I wasn't able to make it to her house. And this is her C day, and we basically missed her whole C day. So please, anything helps. So I'm gonna move us to our first topic of the night, and that is the next U.S. Census is rewriting race in 2030.
Okay, it's dividing race, you're saying, sir?
It is redefining race,
Oh, okay. What are the redefinitions of race?
rewriting it. So if you remember from the 2020 census, they had added new categories and sections. Well, the one in 2030 is going to be even more uh, extensive, if you will.
Hmm.
So, Jason Black, the Black Authority, is going to give us the update on that.
All right. What's up with the professor? Okay.
They are the ones behind it, and in reality, they are not. Fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black media, and this is the Black channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program, this is something in particular here. People have been contacting me about that, even though you know my rules about that kind of thing. I've been getting, it's not as if I haven't been watching it here, but I'm getting people talking about it. And I've been monitoring the situation closely. And I've decided to wait until we get to here and now, because I feel like it is incumbent to address it under those circumstances. There's been a movement afoot for a while, and that movement, many folks think that they are the ones behind it, and in reality, they are not. Remember something, people, you don't have something until it becomes government policy.
Mm-hmm.
That part.
You don't have something until it becomes government policy. And because of that, I've been warning you to watch out for those things, because people can jump up and down and ask whatever they want to. But it doesn't matter until after it's become government policy. When you have the government enforcing it, now you have something. And for the census, there are changes that are coming. But I want you to hear exactly what those changes are. I'm taking you to the Hill. They have a story on this, and then I want to give you some background information on this. U.S. Census, and this is dated as of 2 days ago, or 3 days ago. U.S. Census changes how it categorizes people by race and ethnicity, by Nick Robertson. The 2030 census, now this scuttlebutt started last year, but now it's letting you know the 2030 census will include new race and ethnicity checkboxes for Hispanic people and people of Middle Eastern and North African descent. The Office of Management and Budget announced Thursday a major change in how the government tracks demographics. The change is the first to race and ethnicity categories in 27 years and comes after years of criticism that major racial and ethnic groups are left out of demographic collection. By the way, folks, who was president of the United States 27 years ago? By the way, brief bit of trivia here for you. Who was the president 27 years ago? And what party was he a member of? And I wonder if there are any connections or similarities here. Now, we'll come back to that.
Shout out to all the viewers.
The revisions change how the census will ask questions about race and ethnicity, combining the previously separate questions about race and ethnicity into one, and including a new category for Middle Eastern and North African people. Quote, thanks to the hard work of staff across dozens of federal agencies and input from thousands of members of the public, not millions, thousands, these updated standards will help create more useful, accurate, and up-to-date federal data on race and ethnicity. U.S. Chief Statistician Cameron Orbis said in a statement, these revisions will enhance our ability to compare information and data across federal agencies, and also to understand how well federal programs serve a diverse America. Demographic categories for the next census will include American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian. Now listen to this part here, folks. I want you to listen to all these they have on here, because they're telling you demographic categories for the next census will include American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Black or African American, Hispanic or Latino, Middle Eastern or North African, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and white, the OMB announced. In previous censuses, most people of Middle Eastern background were listed under the white category, and Hispanic people were considered an ethnicity separate from race. Well, isn't that what we've been telling you all here the entire time?
Exactly.
Up until now, they are saying that up until now, Hispanic was an ethnicity. Government policy was to acknowledge being Hispanic as an ethnicity, separate from race.
Right.
And we've all understood that's what being Hispanic is. It's not a race, it's an ethnicity. Well, government policy says we are going. And yes, of course, you got Black and African American as opposed to African immigrant. We'll come back to that. People of North African descent did not have a clear individual category. Thursday's changes cap a nearly 2-year process of collecting feedback from the public. More than 20,000 people gave comments for the changes, and the OMB held nearly 100 listening sessions across the country. They had come listen to us. All federal demographic collection will reflect the new standards within 5 years at most, the OMB said, with changes being rolled out to government departments starting Thursday. Now, did you get that part right there? Oh, now, as far as when they're going to, as far as collection of reflected standards, federal demographic collection will reflect those standards in 5 years. But as far as how they're going to start moving, they said, oh, that's going to start Thursday. So this starts next week. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this is not new. They've been aiming to do this for a while, and we ready to roll it out now. Reparations? No. Reclassification? Yes. Y'all know that Drake meme.
Exactly.
Hand up. Reparations? No. Reclassification? Thumbs up. Yes.
Yeah, we got Truth Seeker in the house.
The OMB also announced it would create a new task force to regularly review how the collection of race and ethnicity data for future changes and to better reflect the changing demographics of the country. So, folks, they're now telling you that ethnicities and nationalities. They are now moving ethnicities and nationalities into the racial categories.
Right.
Understand that now. Why is that so important? They're now telling you that we're going to go ahead and grab ethnicities and nationalities and shove those into that category there. Now, you notice where we are concerned, right. They didn't make a move on that. Yes, they did. Actually, yes, they did. And that is the diabolical part of this. Remember, Joe Biden, longtime white supremacist and segregationist.
Right.
You know full well that if he's at the helm, he's got a goal.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a goal and he's got an aim.
Yeah, people do need to hear this.
Want to go ahead and show you a story here from NPR.
We got a lot of viewers tonight, Truth.
There's a reason I've been sitting on this for a minute now. I've been sitting on this for a minute now, and now it's time to talk about it.
They need to subscribe. They need to like and subscribe to Frontline Black News.
Mr. Hansi Loang.
Hear this on a regular basis.
1 in 7 people are, quote, some other race on the U.S. Census. That's a big data problem. He said this back in 2021. So this lets you know how long Joe Biden has been waiting in the wings to spring this on you. Back in 2021, this guy wrote this article here. 1 in 7 people are some other race on the U.S. Census. That's a big data problem. Yeah. Why is it a big data problem here, Mr. Loang? Well, you're about to hear why. For Leanna Garcia Torres, none of the boxes really fit. In 2010, she answered U.S. Census questions for the first time on her own as an adult. Is she of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin? What? Well, isn't this what we've been pointing out for the longest time now?
Yes.
Haven't we been pointing out that that's not a race, it's an ethnicity, and that many of these people wish to identify as white, which means clinging on to Spanish origin.
Yep.
That if they identify as being of Spanish lineage, then they say that they are white, despite your attempts to minoritize them.
Yep.
Right.
Now, we've been saying this here on the Blacc channel for a decade and a half. Now, all these years later, you have these people sit up here and say that, acknowledging that what is fueling this desire to want to identify as being Spanish, even though by her own admission, she said that was easy. She marked, yes, Puerto Rican. So her people are from Puerto Rico, but Spanish origin, that can work for me. But she says that was easy. She marked, yes, Puerto Rico. But then came the stumper. What is her race? Whenever that question is posed, it does raise a little bit of anxiety. Garcia Torres explains, quote, I actually remember calling my dad and saying, what race are you putting? I don't know what to put. So this man raised her, and yet his daughter does not know what her racial category is. Now, folks, why is it that the American government is so concerned about this? Why is this that this concerns them so much?
Because
I will explain to you why it is. It is a matter of government policy, not opinion, but government policy rests on this. They need to know and have a proper head count of everyone who identifies as white. Even if technically you are not, we want to know everyone who identifies who is on team white.
Exactly.
And you cannot leave this up to chance. We need to go do a head count. Who identifies as being on our team, even if they technically are not, they will still support our policies. We need to know who our members and our allies are. We need to know how many of these people out here are ignoring genetics and are obeying socialization.
Right.
And that's what this is about. finding out how much of the population is team white. Now you're going to give them the ability to, you're not giving them the ability to cross identify anymore. You are requiring them now to pick a side. You are now requiring that they pick a side.
Yep.
And you made it real slick to be able to do that. You made it real slick to be able to do that. But now you are demanding that they choose a side.
White or black, pick one.
Goes on to say here, the categories the once a decade head count uses, white, black, and American Indian or Alaska Native, put those of Asian and Pacific Islander groups, plus those of Asian and Pacific Islander groups, have never resonated with her. It's tricky, the Brooklyn, New York resident by way of Tennessee says. Both of my parents are from the island of Puerto Rico, and we're just historically pretty mixed. If you look at anyone in my family, you wouldn't really be able to guess the race. We just look vaguely tan, I would say.
Along with Havana, Cuba.
In the end, for both the 2010 and 2020 counts, Garcia Torres settled with checking off a box called some other race.
Doesn't it translate to...
And last year, so did Frank Alvarez of Los Angeles. So you can see the demographic that is having trouble with this. It's not everyone, it's one demographic. Now it is time to give them the choice to either integrate into whiteness or to separate themselves off into some other category where you will not get the white benefits. It's a chin check moment. At the beginning of the 20th century, this was what was done for the Italians and the Irish. Latinos, white Latinos, used to be Spaniards and white, then they got moved out. Now at the beginning of the 21st century, the choice is being brought back to them again. Because you see, the issue is they are now being required to divorce themselves from anything that would identify you with blackness. So you will now be given one of three choices. You can...
Oh, you know what? This reminded me of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez when she said during that interview that she was she had African blood, but she's not black. And she said it like really like matter of factly, like don't associate me with anything black. But I have African blood, but don't associate me with being black.
Okay, but you see, but what the stupid ass broad don't realize is that black blood would qualify her ass for the fucking slave auction block. And look at a film called Band of Angels, and that there will erase all doubt. Look at another movie called The Imitation of Life.
Continue to
And then also too, we have Truth Seeker here. What is greetings, Ted, to you, Truth Seeker. Truth Seeker is stating that he states that he is a quarter pounder Indian because the words Native American didn't exist back in those days. Okay, now here's something that I've just realized. Many years ago, when I was in Denver, Colorado, okay, a gentleman, was of let's say of indigenous descent to the Americas. And he had stated to me, and I learned something, is that he said is that Native American is really is an insult to the indigenous people here, is because when the crackers first came here with their stinking asses, okay, they were calling themselves Native Americans, meaning the ones who were descendants of Europe who were born in the United States. You see, so I learned something on that, and maybe Truth Seeker could shed some light on that. Okay. Now, the fact of the matter is what they're trying to do is to split up the black voting bloc. Now they're trying to split us up on the census, is because this is what I was saying. This just proves our point, Brother Che, is that inclusion is an illusion. You see what I mean?
So I'm gonna let the Jason Black finish, but yeah, it definitely reaffirms everything we've been saying for damn near a decade.
No, hell yeah, most definitely. You see, but then of course, we consider
white.
to be black.
You can identify yourself as Latino, or You sure you want to get too close to the Negroes? Are you certain? Okay. Quote, I just identify with my ethnicity. So do you see the insanity here? I mean, if you're being asked about race, that's got nothing to do with ethnicity. But they're making it a point here now, aren't they? I just identify with my ethnicity growing up. We were in a very traditional Guatemalan home, says Alvarez, who adds he was disappointed not to see Hispanic or Guatemalan as an option for the race question. I almost wanted to just skip that question, to be honest. Now, here comes the issue. Right here. And this was back in 2021 now. 3 years ago. Here's the issue right here. Nationwide, some 45 million Latinos were recorded as identifying with a mysterious alternative to what the federal government considers to be the major racial groups. They either marked the some other race box or wrote in a response that the Bureau sorted into that category. In recent decades, many immigrants have also come to see some other race as their preferred checkbox, especially people with roots in the Middle East or North Africa, whom the U.S. government categorizes as white, or from Afro-Caribbean groups.
Remember I was telling you, Shabaka, a few years back, I had looked at at that time, it was a recent job interview application, job application, and it said there was a section that had Middle East and it had under Caucasian or white. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was like, yeah, parts of North Africa, Southern Mediterranean, Europe, white. And I was like, what the fuck? And that was like back after they did the 2010 census.
Right. And then keep in mind, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, and also too, Truth Seeker, and also too, Mr. Barnes. Thank you all both for joining us. Definitely check out Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, okay? It's because the Sudan, Kemet, Libya, Algeria,
another 20 minutes, Shabaka.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the next topic.
Okay.
So this is requiring people to separate themselves. Now they've always understood that this was ethnicity, not race. Do you understand the difference between those two things? Of course they do. This is about figuring out where your allegiances lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is about now, is finding out what is your allegiance. Altogether totaling close to 50 million, or more than 1 in 7 people living in the U.S., their numbers helped the catch-all category rise through the ranks of census results. Do you understand what that means right there? They're not playing around with that, man. They're not playing around with that at all. They're telling you that 15% of the population is malleable, is what they're telling you. Altogether, totaling close to 50 million people, 1 in more than 7 people living in the U.S., their numbers help the catch-all category rise through the ranks of census results. Rise through the ranks. So in other words, they've been keeping that other category out there as a survey question to find out when you got to this point. Well, what do you know? 15% outnumbers what group of people?
Damn. Well, they're saying that we're supposed to.
Well, 15% would put them in line with what group of people in America? Who in America has got a population that they say is around 15%? A troublesome group of people who we need to make sure that we have weighted the social and political and demographics against them because they have a legitimate claim against the U.S. government. So we will not send Anglos necessarily. We're going to get, we have got a whole buffer class together.
Right.
If you want to know whether or not, I told you a decade ago, hey, these numbers are legit from the census because they need to catalog and track the buffer class size changing. They need to know who they can put in and who's got enough numbers to put in our way to deflect government policy towards helping. They need to know that. What was once the country's third largest racial category in 2000 and 2010 outpaced Black last year to become the second largest after white.
Wow.
And a major data problem that could hinder progress towards racial equality over the next 10 years. People, he says it right here in the article. They've been tracking it now. And take a look who the target is. They didn't say that it outpaced traditional Latino or Hispanic numbers. They didn't say that. They said that it outpaced Black. So in other words, they're keeping track of these numbers for one primary purpose and one primary purpose only, to see how much of a buffer it puts between white society and us.
Yeah.
Why did they not name any other group? Because the other groups are not being targeted. That's not who they got the government policy towards illegal immigration to target. It's not here to target them. It's here to target you. And they're saying, yeah, we're watching who it's targeting. And I said this over a decade and a half ago. So if you were listening then, you were well aware of it. If you're just listening now, you're way behind. The some other race group was not supposed to be this big. Lie.
Right.
When the Census Bureau first used an other race option in 1910, when the Census Bureau first used an other race option in 1910 for the national tally, it wasn't meant to generate large numbers.
Right.
By the way, yeah, a little over a century ago, at the turn of the century, here we are again. They're letting you know this is government policy. You're at the end of the next century. It is time to start the reclassification.
Yeah.
It's time to start the official reclassification effort again. We did it a century ago. It's time to do it again. Census workers who used to assign people their race by observation were instructed to note those who didn't fall within the provided categories with a shorthand, OT, on forms and spell out their race. According to one of the Bureau's 1910 census reports that ultimately produced a count of 5,012 Koreans, 3,249 Filipinos, 2,545 Hindus, and a scattering representation of other races. When the Bureau started allowing all U.S. residents to self-report their racial identities in 1960, now who was folks, it always circles back around to us. Now, who was it who was making strides in this country, and who was the spotlight on from the 1940s through the 1960s? Who was getting legislation passed that was specifically, supposedly, to focus on them? And what do you know? Between the 1940s and 1970s, what do they do all of a sudden? Why, we're changing government policies. We're changing immigration law. On the census, we're going to start for the first time ever allowing people to self-report their racial identity. Well, just in time for us to start getting legislation that would benefit us. Now, government policy at the exact same moment, and then 9 years later, immigration changes? You think that was accidental?
No.
That all these monumental historic changes happened at the exact same time? We start making moves, and then the federal government starts making really weird, strange changes. And then you find out they're not weird, just strange. And they probably fooled a lot of black folk into thinking, oh, don't worry, this is for your benefit. They were looking 60, 70 years down the road and saying, this will overturn whatever legislative changes we're making. These government policies will neutralize whatever legislation we put in place for you. By 2000, a checkbox for some other race made its first appearance, and it was almost its last. The Bureau had proposed to remove it from the 2010 census form because it had become, quote, a source of non-comparability between census information and survey data from other government agencies that don't use a some other race category. Getting rid of it, Bureau officials had hoped, could help more Latinx people answer the census race question. Just like the movie The Matrix Reloaded, they need to be given a choice to identify as white and to identify squarely as white. Folks, if the census is intended to have if the whole purpose of the census is to count accurately the race of people, then why are you starting to group in ethnicity and geography and nationality as a racial question? Then that's obviously not your reason for doing the head count or for asking them that question. You want to know, you want to have a heads up of how socially the society is changing to see who identifies as team white.
Yeah, that part right there. You see what I mean?
For a long time, let me explain what I mean by that. You don't want people sitting up here misidentifying themselves. I mean, if they're Asian and want to identify as black, or if they're Asian, it doesn't matter how black they feel. You're not black, you're Asian. You're not black, you're Asian. So it makes no sense for you to allow them to misrepresent themselves. What good is a census that allows people to misrepresent themselves? Well, there's one group of people on the census who do not misrepresent their race. Now, isn't there? Yeah, now, we all know for certain that there is one group, there's one race on the U.S. Census that uniformly identifies themselves accurately. They're not trying to identify as anybody else. Yeah, everybody else is trying to figure out how to identify as them, but they're not trying to identify as anybody else. So you're pretty certain that that head count for that group's number will be accurate. So since you know white society is not trying to identify as anyone else, their numbers will be solid. You really want to find out which of these other ethnicities is aligned with you. So whether or not they genetically or ethnically are moving in your direction and identifying your way, that's what you're trying to find out. Of course, they're not white or Caucasian, not officially inducted. You'll want to know which ones are trying to be. That's what you really want to know. Whether or not they identify as being white adjacent or black adjacent. That's the part you want to know.
That part.
For a long time, there was the sense that there wasn't anything wrong with the question, but rather that Hispanics didn't understand the question. And I remember thinking, wow, says Clara Rodriguez, a sociologist at Fordham University and author of Changing Race, Latinos, the Census, and the History of Ethnicity in the United States. Some other race was something to be taken seriously, not to be dismissed as a misunderstanding on the part of the Hispanic population. In 2004, a congressional mandate requiring the census to include a some other race category was introduced by then Representative Jose Serrano of New York, who was the top Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee that funds the Bureau. The move was championed by Latino civil rights groups concerned that removing the option would lead to inaccurate counts of other racial categories that are used to redraw voting districts and enforce anti-discrimination laws. So if you all think these changes in these categories are just bureaucratic or academic, no, These changes in these categories will be used by the federal government in how they draw voting districts and how they fund communities and enforce anti-discrimination laws. You mean like dropping a bag in New York for the Asians for Stop Asian Hate? Meanwhile, with black folk, it's open season?
Right. That part.
I want to show you all the direct connection between discussing these things in an academic sense and what happens when they become government policy. You can have a movement all you want to. Things get rolling when the government buckles and makes it government policy.
That part.
At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. If you all agree with that, give me the thumbs up emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. There's over 4,000 people in here live tonight. We are giving you a lesson about this that will be very, very important going forward. Every single person in here is going to deal with this. A growing some other race group obscures the identities of many Latinos. Tell me more. Part of that reality, however, is that a growing some other race population remains a huge data problem, says G. Christina Mora, a sociologist at the University of California, Berkeley, who studies how race and ethnicity are categorized and is concerned about how that category obscures the racial identities of many Latinx people. This is a red flag. It's been a red flag that's been around for a very long time, adds Mora. If we're not represented in the data, we're never going to have a true sense of racial justice. Oh, somebody is denying Latinos justice? And the implications touch almost every aspect of people's lives, including their health, explains Louisa Burrell, a professor of epidemiology and biostatistics at the City University of New York's Graduate School of Public Health and Health Policy. By the way, see my last program last week about New York is a problem. We can't really identify who those people are, Burrell says, of the some other race population. That's going to be a group that is going to be left out when it comes to tabulations for mortality for any health outcome. Really. And they talk about the Trump administration here. But you see this next part here. Now, this was 3 years ago that NPR said this 3 years ago. By the way, you see code switch over here. What does it mean to be Latino, the light skin privilege edition? All right. There could be changes in time for the 2030 census. As the Bureau ramps up its planning for the 2030 census, some researchers are calling for the federal government to consider a different race of adding a different kind of race question, including Nancy Lopez, a sociologist at the University of New Mexico, whose research has focused on people's street race, or what they think strangers assume their race to be. Not every Latino is a brown-skinned Latino. Oh, tell me more, Miss Lopez. Not every Latino is a brown-skinned Latino. There are white Latinos, there are black Latinos like myself, and there are Latinos who are also street race Asian.
Okay, freeze that. I'm going to comment.
Says Lopez, who adds...
Go ahead, Shabbat.
Okay, all right, see, this is a bunch of shit right here, okay? First place, man, you had slavery in San Juan,
about the limitations
Puerto Rico.
of data about
slavery in Brazil,
how people self-identify.
By the Portuguese and the Spaniards. You see what I'm saying? Also, too, San Juan, Puerto Rico was one of your largest slave ports of the Caribbean, just like Havana, Cuba. So once again, what these no good motherfuckers is trying to do is split up the black community on a international level, because they don't want us to simply bring these 5 digits together and put them in a place, as Brother Malcolm had said.
Yeah, they always trying to throw out that.
Yeah, see, so what it is that they want to kill black solidarity. Okay, it's because they're in fear of black solidarity. It's because these other groups figure that what they've been doing to us, that we might form together and become like you remember Brother Che in that movie, Tales from the Hood, the Nigglets.
Yep.
Remember the nigglets? Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
see, that's what they are trying to prevent. You see what I mean? And why is it, man, of my 60 plus years of living here in America, every time I get stopped by the goddamn police department, they telling me, well, the subject here is a male Negro, a black man. See?
Yeah.
And then also, too, what this shit is, in my opinion, is that they're trying to bring back the concept of the imitation of life. And for those of you after my generation, if you really want to see a movie that'll make you cry, if you want to see one that will piss you off, go see two versions of this movie called The Imitation of Life. The first one they made in 1934, the second one they made in 1959. And then it's very interesting is that when they speak of Malcolm X, there's no doubt in nobody's mind that Malcolm X was a black man.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And one who they used to call Detroit Red in his hustling days. And I even think the former
he's
heavyweight.
actually the next topic about this. So let me finish up TVA. So
yes, sir.
That topic.
Yes, sir. Okay, and in the meantime, Brother Che, I'm going to.
So, after us saying it for years and years, NPR acknowledges it right as they say, by the way, let's have a mashup. Now, I don't know what she means by street race. Street race. As I said last week, this is what happens when you allow the silly people to start talking.
That part.
What would be the civil rights use of the data when we recognize that most people are being racialized by others when they seek housing or vote or seek employment? So she wants the ability, she's defending the ability to identify as however you want to.
Being jacked by the police.
OMB's current standards note that, quote, self-identification is the preferred means of obtaining information about an individual's race and ethnicity, except in instances where observer identification is more practical. Did you get that? So that right there, observer identification is more practical. Observer, they mean the person with the census taking the head count. Well, I'm white and I say so. I'm white and I say so.
And then what this is going to bring back is the house nigga syndrome.
I'm white and I say so. Do you understand? Well, our agent with the census can override whatever you say. Well, that makes perfect sense, although I wonder how that can be abused. We'll see.
Okay, what's your opinion on this here?
Bureau's research on race and ethnicity leading up to the 2020 census, it says in a statement to NPR that while it is, quote, not suitable for release, given that it was for exploratory research purposes. So in other words, they've got to count on people who have told them about how they were perceived by others. But they're like, yeah, we don't want to, that was just for experimental purposes. And we don't really need to go in that. Oh, let's keep those numbers to ourselves. I'm going to end right here with saying, whatever questions end up on the 2030 census forms, Jaleesa RCO last year, instead of marking white as she used to on forms that asked for racial identity, RC and Mexico and immigrant from Mexico said she selected American Indian or Alaska Native, Chinese, and some other race. Did you get that? She can sit up here and try to protest all she wants to and says, oh, you know, we need to be classified differently. We've been here since before it was called the United States. And yet she said I'm white. And yet she said I'm white. What I'm telling you is, by the way, she can protest all she wants to. What are her children to identify as when they come of age. They've already got a mother who is perfectly content to identify as white. If she has 3 or 4 children, what will they identify as when she's gone and they get to choose that number for themselves? What will happen then? I want you all to be aware that this is not innocuous. I want you to be aware that the United States government is doing this specifically for the purposes of targeting us. I want you to be aware of the ramifications of this type of change and what that would mean. The ramifications of it and what it means. Now, this is 2 years later. Mr. Lo Wang has a new story. New Latino and Middle Eastern and North African checkboxes proposed for U.S. forms. This was as of last year. The Biden administration is proposing major changes to forms for the 2030 census and federal government surveys that would transform how Latinos and people of Middle Eastern or North African descent are counted in statistics across the United States. Latinos, Middle Eastern, North African, people who have solidly, dependably identified as white or are considered white either by the society or the government or both. You see that? That's what they're grouping together here is the other whites. Do you all remember here 2 years ago when I played for you Tucker Carlson talking about the Afghans? Do you remember that? Do you all remember when I played for you Tucker Carlson talking about the Afghans? Remember? Yep. And remember what Tucker Carlson said? Well, yeah, we're not in favor of immigrating them over here, even though he said when you look at them, you know, these are guys with, you know, brunette hair and blue eyes. They are essentially white people.
That's what he said.
Remember?
Yep.
White supremacist Tucker Carlson clearly tells you that the Afghans are essentially white people. He had no problem conceding to that. Russia. He wasn't trying to get them raised up, but Tucker Carlson himself said the Afghans, while they are essentially white people. I played that for you years ago because I keep track of this the whole time. This is government policy that you're up against now.
And then
on the left and the right, as I said last night, nobody in Jewish society is confused about whether or not white Jews are white. No one over there is confused. All they're fighting over is, wait a minute, do I get full white benefits, or are y'all going to try to carve me out something else?
And keep in mind, it was white Jews.
You know I'm white. Am I going to get my full white card, or are you going to give me like a beige white card?
No,
we want our full white card. There is no argument in white society as to whether or not these are white people. The argument is over how much power should they have and who's in control.
Exactly,
that's the argument.
Professor.
That's the debate. Not are we dealing with white people, but how much benefits should they have as white people? And I've been telling you this now for 15 plus years. So you see who they group together and say, yeah, you're the ones that we're giving more leeway to. Black folk, don't worry about it. Especially those of you of slave descent, don't worry about that. No. You'll be where you are. You'll be good. Everybody else, we're making some adjustments for them. A new checkbox for Middle Eastern or North African and a Hispanic or Latino box. Hispanic or Latino. All right. That appears under a reformatted question asking for a person's race or ethnicity are among the early recommendations announced in a Federal Register notice, which was made available on January 26th for public inspection ahead of its official publication. If approved, and it is, the changes would address long-standing difficulties many Latinos have had in answering a question about race that does not include a response option for Hispanic or Latino, which the federal government recognizes only as an ethnicity that can be of any race, because that is what it is. And yet they're now saying, you know what? We want to give them the ability to racially classify. And I submit to all of you that what will occur is this is going to actually influence more Latinos to identify as white. That's the part I want you all to get. This is
because remember, Shabaka, we had covered in our very beginnings, I believe even on Mile High News, that
Right.
at least 50% of Latinos were classifying themselves as white on the U.S.
Exactly. Yeah.
since 2000.
Right. And then to support yourself on that premise, they even more so, Brother Che, it came across out of old memory files that I got that during the civil rights movement is that the state of California had declared those of Latino descent, or commonly referred to as Mexican Americans, as white, so therefore it could pull away influence and pull away power from the civil rights movement. You see what I mean? Now,
Well, they stood on the sidelines, Shabaka, until they got some kind of benefit from the civil rights movement. Because remember,
right.
the civil rights movement was supposed to be corrective action for Jim Crow and
Right.
chattel slavery. And
Right. Yeah, okay, that you are right about. Now, also to keep in mind, okay, is that there's a case in Los Angeles in 1942 during World War II called the Sleepy Lagoon murder case, where these white ass sailors with their redneck hillbilly ass had took this Mexican American woman and raped her on the fucking sidewalk. On the fucking sidewalk. And so, quite naturally, of course, so what the Latino guys did, and as a matter of fact, the movie actor Edward James Olmos, I believe he produced this play called Zoot Suit, and that was the setting of it. And so, what the Latinos did, they went there and fucked them white boys up, and more power to them. How dare these motherfuckers go out there and rape that woman like that?
yeah,
But when it comes to us, when it comes to us, black women, that there is supposed to be the norm there on the plantation system. See, this is what the fuck me and Sarge got off into that argument about in the motion picture Mandingo, okay? Because, Brother Che, I don't think you were alive when that motion picture premiered in 1975. And they had Ken Norton.
That was
Huh?
12 years before I was born.
Yes, sir. Okay. And I was 16 or 17 when the movie came out, and the heavyweight champion there at the time had got up there and stated publicly in Los Angeles that you will not make no fucking movie with me anyway. I'm standing up there on a goddamn auction block. So what he did was he made his life story that year. Then he made another movie on NBC TV called Freedom Road, which was kind of interesting. You see what I mean? And the cold part about it is that this is why they want our people to dumb it down of the atrocities, that happened to us. So the professor's right
Right.
on this is because you have a lot of people who are Hispanics
Jason,
that are clearly
Jason
of
Black.
African descent.
It's Jason Black, Shabaka, not the professor. I know they
Okay, my
sound.
bad.
It's not the same.
Okay, Jason Black. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, they are two different entities. Yeah, okay. Apologies, gentlemen. Okay, now also
Actually going to
too.
make ease of access
Shabaka.
for more Latinos, more white Latinos to identify as white. Understand that. First, they're going to give you a lane to identify, to separate yourself from black folk. You don't have to be in the same bag with them, but really, you go further. You're going to want to go further because remember, even black Latinos can put themselves in the same bucket. Change.
Yeah, look at Sammy
The only thing that's gonna, because before they wanted to know if you were white Latino, that's why the question seemed confusing. Are you white? Are you Hispanic or Hispanic black? Well, by separating those categories, this is meant to make the black Latinos not identify as Latino, although many will still do so. With turn more pressure on other folks. Hey, you ain't gonna well, go ahead and put yourself identifying as Latino with you and the other white Latinos, then the only option you got left as a white Latino is to step away. You'll have left to claim white.
That's what they already been doing.
Mm-hmm.
You can see who else is happy here. The reforms will also mark a major advancement for advocates for Arab Americans and other.
What makes it so bad? Those were the main ones that want to say nigga, 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 nigga. It's like, oh hell no, you definitely get no past saying that. You claiming white on everything, but you want to say nigga, nigga, nigga. No.
No, I'm not nobody's nigga.
We just had an artist that got arrested. He's doing serious time now, and all his raps, all he said was nigga, 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 and I'm like, who signed this shit? Who sanctioned this shit? Because is on team white supremacy and claiming white, them pale skin looking Latinos, so he think he can get saying nigga, 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 and it's like, oh hell no. But he locked up. I don't think these fools out here talking about for what? That motherfucker need to stay up in there. But yeah, just goes to show that they want to be so bad when it come down to it. They gonna pick their side, and now they got no choice but to pick a side. So it's gonna be the lines are gonna be clearly drawn there.
Oh yeah.
So I think 5 more minutes video, Shabaka, and then we gotta move on.
Okay.
We got our
media groups who have long campaigned for their own checkbox, while the U.S. government currently categorizes people with origins in Lebanon, Iran, Egypt, and other countries in the Manya region as white. Many people of Manya descent do not identify as white people, except when they're enslaving black people. I'm adding that part there. But by the way, when they got slave trading to do, when they got racism to perform, all of a sudden they become pretty white then. Just thought I'd go ahead and throw that in there. So do you see it's the same thing? This is intended to give them a way, the Negroes. They want to more accurately count the black folk. So they want to make these categories where these white adjacent people can separate themselves from the black ones. This will allow the white adjacent to separate themselves from the black ones. So when you hear about the Hispanic and Latino one now and the Mania category, and this is white adjacent. Saying that's white adjacent. Before now, we just counted you as white. Now it's okay. You're gonna be white adjacent. We're gonna get those numbers straighter. You'll have to. You're gonna have to. What this is intended to do is, number one, is going to cut down numbers. That's the first thing. Now it will cut down on the official black numbers, because by removing a black Hispanic category, that's intended to they're in that New York area and other places. You're giving them the ability. Follow me here. You're now giving them the ability of black.
Yeah.
So even if they can't into whiteness, you're now giving them an avenue to opt out of blackness.
Yep.
Now they'll just say, oh, well, I'm Latino. Well, you have the option of still counting yourself as black. Yeah, but that would get in my way of chasing these white Dominican chicks. So I'm Latino. So just understand what this is really intended to lose. Who used to get now, but you see, folks, when we discuss the need for us to distinguish ourselves from some of these other black groups, we need to know everybody who's on board. And they couldn't get, Becky to call them back, so all of a sudden they're black today. And as soon as they can get some interracial sexual access, okay, we ain't black no more. This is the reason why we've had to make that distinction, because our blackness is not a jacket that we can put on.
That's right.
So to all the people who want to sit up here and cross-identify, this gives them a magnet or an incentive to be able to edge away from blackness. Now, they can't get over into whiteness, but it gives them the ability to edge away from blackness.
Yeah.
What this will now, by official government policy will now allow people to distance themselves from blackness based on identity, and to also distance themselves from blackness and merge into whiteness by choice.
Right.
They will now have the choice of identifying as white. And that comes in damn handy. That comes in damn handy, because understand, at the end of the day, these white Latinos don't want a other category. What they want are their full-blown damn white rights. But there's a reason that they've been unable to gain them. There's a reason that they've been unable to get them. There's a reason for that. And just like with the white Jewish community, that's the wall they're looking to knock down. They want to get their Ted Cruz, Jennifer Lopez, Jessica Alba, Ava Longoria card. They're trying to get that one. They're trying to get that one. And what I want to do here is I want to explain to you exactly how this has occurred. I want to show you the last time that this occurred, the last time this happened, so that you have a proper understanding of what they're doing this time. This is official government strategy, not just policy, but strategy. It didn't come out of nowhere. As the black population numbers went up after antebellum slavery, the white population here couldn't bring in immigrants fast enough, and then started inculcating the not exactly white immigrants into whiteness. And remember, there was animosity toward that clean through the 1960s. It isn't until an Irishman, President JFK, gets assassinated that the attitude toward the Irish as an other than white substantively began to change. But it wasn't until then. We're going to get into that here in just a few moments. Before we do, we're going to take a very brief commercial.
Thank you, Jason Blacc, for that awesome commentary on the new census. What are your thoughts on this, Shabaki?
Okay, what it is a divide and conquer technique. They're trying to dilute the strength of black cohesiveness, to put it off in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? Is because, see, this is what the fuck we mean by all this inclusion shit is an illusion. Yeah, I say, and the professor just showed you right there. You see what I'm saying? He just showed you right there. You see what I mean? Because they don't want us to forget the brutalization. You see what I'm saying? They don't want us, they want us to sit up there and say, oh, I ain't no African, I is American, you brain dead motherfucker. Your black ass was brought here as chattel, period. Same thing with the slave ports of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Same thing with the slave ports of Havana, Cuba. Same thing with the slave ports of Caracas, Venezuela. Same thing with the slave ports down there in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The same thing there with the slave ports of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and Santo Domingo of the Dominican Republic. What it is that they are trying to dilute the cohesiveness of Pan-Africanism is what it is. But as you had stated there, Brother Che, is that it seems that we, the only ones here in the U.S. are on that square. So we got to get more of the diaspora on that same square too, particularly these neo-colonialists over there in the continent.
It'll make it harder to get them on the same square if they're claiming white on everything.
Yeah, exactly. You see, so once it is, it's an illusion, man. You know what I'm saying? Once it is, it's an illusion. You know. And then the cold part about it is, man, is you get a lot of these brain dead, ass kissing, ass sucking, black ass politicians in that congressional black caucus that'll sit up there and try to push that bullshit as opposed to self sufficiency. Yeah, I said it. And be sure
We've
to
been
call it.
saying that fuck the Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah,
Fuck
man, you know what I'm saying?
immigrant caucus. Majority of them is immigrants anyway.
Right, and then also too, but what all of them motherfuckers is, man, is a bunch of coon ass sellouts. You never had a black militant in the Congressional Black Caucus. Now, the only brother that you had, man, that came close to militancy in Congress was Adam Clayton Powell, and you saw
Yep.
what they did with Adam Clayton Powell.
Yep. Not Thurgood Marshall, not Bobby Rush, not
Right,
Bobby Seale. Well,
right.
didn't him and Huey ran for office, correct?
Okay, I don't recall Dr. Newton ever running for any political office to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, so Seale ran, and it was somebody else from the Panthers that ran.
Yeah, yeah, I do know you did have a couple of members of the Black Panther Party did run. Wait a minute. Eldridge Cleaver, wait a minute, because you bringing
Yeah,
back a
that's him
memory,
on the
brother
point.
Jay. Yeah,
That's
you
him
bring
on the point.
yeah, brother Che, you bringing back a memory. Okay, I remember, man, when I was 9 years old, sitting in a barbershop chair, man, in Los Angeles in 1968, that did have a poster up there that said Eldridge Cleaver for president, and I believe he was trying to go with the Peace and Freedom Party.
Look, Shabaka,
Yeah, Solo on Ice. Yeah, I've read that book. Hmm. Yeah, he grew up in
yeah,
Los Angeles.
Pops has nothing nice to say about this dude.
Yeah, man, Cleaver, man, was the center of a whole lot of controversy. And as a matter of fact, you got him standing right there here, man, on the right side of this photograph right there with the glasses on. And looking at where he is standing at, that there does appear to be up there in Defremery Park up there in Oakland off the corner of 16th and Adeline. And for those of you, if you ever get a chance to go to the San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area, go over there to Defremery Park and listen to the wind and hear the stories of long ago from the wind on the corner of 16th and Adeline, because that was their headquarters. That was their den.
Thursday.
Yep. All right. So, this confirms everything that we've been saying. Y'all want to pick a side. Choose wisely. We have
Pretty
no
much.
We're black all the time. 366 this year.
365.
We can't
Yes, sir.
at all. So we've already made our allegiance known. Now it's time for you to do the same.
Exactly.
We track all of that, monitoring all that as well. Moving along, we got Malcolm X Day approved in Nebraska. His birthplace
Okay.
in Shabaka said
Yeah, Omaha.
Berkeley.
Yeah.
Also recognizes our great warrior scholar, Brother Malcolm,
Mm-hmm.
for they
Okay.
recognize this as an actual day, a city day, a state day. It's not a federal
Okay.
holiday yet. It should be. But
Yeah, well,
they
it's
pissing me off.
gaining momentum. It's because it
Keep
is a
framing him.
municipal.
They're pissing me off though, Shabaka, because they keep framing him as a civil rights leader, and he didn't want to have nothing to do with civil rights. He was a black nationalist
And a Pan-Africanist.
and a Pan-Africanist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then also too, he was born May 17th, 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska. As you know, no, I'm sorry, scratch that, people. His birthday is May 19th. Yeah, I stand corrected, May 19th.
Yeah, May 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, May 19th.
And he was born in
We celebrate.
1925. Oh yeah.
Yeah, 1925 March.
Yeah.
What's it? Was it February? Now he died
Well,
in.
Malcolm
Oh yeah,
birthday
May
is
19th. Yeah, May
May
19th,
19.
1925.
Yes, sir. And had the minister stayed alive, he would have been turning 99 years old this year.
Wow. We could only imagine we would probably be in Wakanda right now. But moving right along to his day. So it looks like Omaha or the state of Nebraska is finally recognizing him, but they got it wrong. He was not a civil rights activist.
No, he was a Pan-Africanist and he was a black nationalism.
Correct.
That's
So
what it
the
was. So
system, there was
therefore, yes, sir. And keep in mind, I did see Malcolm X speak, believe it or not, in Los Angeles in 1962. I was 2 years
1962.
old. Yeah.
Wow. That's that's amazing, Shabaki.
Yeah.
Um,
And I didn't know who he
so
was and what I had saw until years later. And I'm glad to have witnessed that history in the flesh as opposed to being in that era, but to see the actual person speak. Also, too, I've seen Kwame Ture speak when I was 14, 15 years old, I believe.
well, Kwame Ture was my father's mentor.
Hmm.
So,
And he's the one that brought you together, the Student Non-Violating Coordinating Committee. But he was also the one that originated the term
power.
Black Power at Laney
Yes.
College in 1966. Is because if I got my facts correct, and then also too, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. He was the one that originated the term in 1966, Black Power.
Yep. Yep. He
See,
did.
yeah.
1966. Yep.
And he was briefly a field marshal in the Black Panther Party as well too.
Yep. Well, he started
And
the
he did.
original. He started the original Black Panther Party in Lowndes County, Alabama.
Okay, funny you should say that. Is because Dr. Newton had traveled to Louds County, Alabama, and he had saw that the civil rights workers had a picture of a panther up there, believe it or not. And then, so he got back, him and Seal, and the source of this information is Bobby Seale's story, Seize the Time. And he got back with Seal up in Oakland, and he says, "Hey, man, I like this symbol right here." And it was that of the Black Panthers. And I believe that's when they had decided to call their party the Black Panther Party for self-defense, because they were affiliated with a group called the Seoul Students Advisory Council up there at UC Berkeley, if I got it right. So I have to go over Mr. Seal's work called Seize the Time. And keep in mind, Black family, you had a whole lot of stuff going on at that time in the political fervor of the 1960s, okay? But one thing, though, Black family, is that we have got to keep our cohesiveness, and whatever differences that we have, we must keep these differences internal. You see what I mean? Because here come all these other groups, that's trying to pick away at our differences and things of this nature right there to take away our cohesiveness. Say.
Right. Yep. I concur, Shabaka. So I'm gonna video play. I got like 2 or 3 videos on this to play. They're real
All
short,
right.
but
Okay.
The Nebraska legislature passed a bill that would recognize every May 19th as the day Malcolm X was born. Malcolm Little was born right here in Omaha.
No,
The
his
bill
name is
introduced by
Malcolm
Senators
X.
Rona
Little is
Kenney
the
and
slave of
Daniel
a
Conrad
goddamn slave
still does
trader
not
that owned his
declare the
family. Get your shit right.
money it would cost to pay
they
people
already.
for the day off. But
I told you they was already fucking you up from the beginning. They got him as a civil rights activist. That's already they misspelled his name, and then they said
Right.
Malcolm Little to give him the slave owner name. Like
Exactly. That's what the X
It does
signifies.
allow
The
for
X
Nebraska
signifies
schools
our
to
true
recognize
names that we
Malcolm X as
lost
a
to
civil
the
rights
slave
leader.
master.
In a statement from the Malcolm X Memorial
Right.
Foundation, they say this day of recognition is also aligned with honoring Malcolm X as a 2024 inductee into the Nebraska Hall of Fame. As the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation continues to build and grow into the future, we are grateful to Nebraska
And
senators
freeze
and
that
the
there for a
citizens of
second, Brother
Nebraska
Tay.
for making May 19th.
Okay, as you see right there, they had a picture of the Jet magazine and him there with the heavyweight champion. And I just wanted to be known out there, ladies and gentlemen, is that Jet magazine and all of the Johnson publications, including the Ebony magazine, had documented the Black empowerment era, the civil rights movement, Black upward mobility as it unfolded. It started in 1947, and then I think it got sold by the heiress of Johnson Publications, the Time magazine, in 2005, I think. And this is a very,
Yeah.
very
You see it down at the
powerful picture
bottom.
right here.
Yes.
And that is a very, very powerful picture right there. It's because that dude on the right, they hated him. And the more that white America hated him, the more that we loved him because couldn't nobody kick his ass.
That's right. Yeah. All facts. All right, Spucker, let me finish this
Yes, sir.
video.
Max Memorial Foundation continues to build and grow into the future. We are grateful to Nebraska senators and the citizens of Nebraska for making May 19th Malcolm X Day. At the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, I'm Melissa Wright, your North Omaha neighbor.
So they got a Memorial Foundation visitor center out there for 'em.
Okay. And also, too, Omaha, Nebraska, and if memory serves me correct, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the current world boxing champion, Terrence Crawford, is from Omaha, Nebraska as well, too.
Yeah, I believe so, Shabaki. So they just received a $20 million grant. This foundation right here on the screen. So that's the next clip I'm gonna play.
Okay.
Giving a large sum of money to an organization which champions the legacy of Omaha-born civil rights activist
And I was at that
Malcolm
speech
X.
right there.
He is the first Black person to be inducted into the Nebraska Hall of Fame. Our Bella Caracta shares where this money will go.
Today is the anniversary of Malcolm X's assassination. 59 years of Black Americans to protect themselves against white violence by any means necessary. The Malcolm X Memorial Foundation will receive $20 million. Here's what they hope to do with it.
I'm really looking forward to the growth that we're going to experience.
The Malcolm X Memorial Foundation at 34th and Evans sits on a beautiful plot of land. Right now, its main visitor center holds educational workshops, civic engagement, and polling. With the help of $20 million, they look to build an additional cultural museum and education center and an outdoor amphitheater.
Tourist destination, a cultural site, a hub for us to have larger scale events.
So we're in this building right here, and we own this property in about 17 acres in this green space.
Oh, nice.
So the outdoor amphitheater would sit on the west end between 36th and Bedford Street.
The vision for this has been
and I
around
hope
for
they got
over
a security
decade,
detail
and
on
now
it too.
we'll have the money to make it happen.
And I really want to make sure the next generation is a part of making a new chapter for this organization. Malcolm X's name travels far beyond Nebraska, but it's our responsibility to make sure people in our own backyard know who he is.
Right now, about 10,000 people come to the center each year. Executive Director Joanna LaFleur-Jicke thinks once expansion happens, that can easily double.
Our capacity has to match $20 million worth of development.
I'm told matching that growth looks like adding full-time staff, such as an education director, an exhibition curator and a community partnerships coordinator. These funds need to be spent by 2027. On your side in the newsroom, Bella Caracta, 6 News.
And what they could do, they can give Frontline Black News some money, and we'll be more than happy to set up their permanent podcast from there indefinitely at that center.
All right, so what are your thoughts on the center and the Malcolm X Day?
Oh, absolutely. I'm for both of them. Is because this center was long overdue. Also, too, recognition of his birthday was long overdue. Is because had it would have given us proper recognition in the 60s and in the 70s, I don't think too many of our youth would be fucked up as they are today by this Hollywood bullshit. You see what I'm saying? Going up here calling our terms. Oh, I'm just a nigga, man, and all that bullshit. The X-Man was against that type of shit. You see what I mean? Sitting up there disrespecting our women. You know what I'm saying? The X-Man was against that type of shit. Now you got our own women disrespecting us is because you got cause and effect. You see what I'm saying? That there's a natural law of physics. So it's very, very positive. I recommend every black male in his lifetime make it a point at least once to visit it. Also, too, every black male at least one time in his lifetime visit the Infirmary Park in Oakland, California. I also do recommend that every black male at least once in his lifetime visit Dr. King's Ebenezer Baptist Church. And there's an old African proverb: listen to the wind and hear the stories of long ago. Oh, most definitely. That's all the way positive. And then, of course, you see they got the colors up there, the red, black, and green. You see what I'm saying? And I will say it here on this platform, just like I said it on Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. I'm saying it here on Frontline Black News. I've said it all over all other social media as well, too. The red, black, and green flag goes on its own pole. It is never to be below the American flag on any pole. If you got an American flag and an RBG flag right there, the RBG flag goes higher in the air, particularly in the black community. And I'm making that plain.
Flag, there's an RBG flag that looks like an American flag too.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, where they got the American flag with the red, black, and green colors in it. Yeah. But however, until they cut the goddamn check of $750 trillion in tangibles, I don't recognize the American flag. I'm making that plain. And if you don't dig it, all our haters, call in at 516-418-5996 tomorrow night. 6 p.m. in the Pacific, 9 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Central Time, and please fill up our chat room with all your hate mail. It will be read on the air. You know what I mean? And also too, we want all you dumpster supporters to call in Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The call-in number is 516-418-5996. And we will be happy to debate with anybody. And of course, we love our well-wishers, you know what I'm saying, and our supporters. And then our haters, we love it when you call in. And the reason why we love you so much for when you call in, when you start screaming and hollering at us and talking all that rhetoric and prepackaged bullshit, only thing that tells us is that the truth hurts.
Yep. Well, we got
but we don't hate. Yeah. But we don't hate nobody. We just love ourselves. I'm sorry, Brother Che. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so we specifically want the black dumpster supporters to call in and tell us what tangible benefits you're going to get from a dumpster regime.
Exactly.
So there's some there's some time and a date. So we look forward to hearing from you. So in regards to this, you said it's been a long time coming. Malcolm X should have had this decades ago.
Oh,
And it's funny
absolutely. And
that
then also too,
hold on, about this.
and I hope, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Holiday. Here in Denver, we've been celebrating it for about 2-3 years now. So, but it hasn't been like city recognized by the city. It's just something that we do in our neighborhood. So, yeah. So that's good to hear about Omaha, Nebraska finally allowing this. Been a long time coming. This was his birthplace. This is also where his family was run out. Is it Omaha or Lincoln, Nebraska? That
No,
the
it's
Klan had
Omaha.
ran him and his family out of.
That was
Yeah.
Omaha.
So
Yeah, because they burned their house to the ground, and Mrs. Little, was there, with the children. They burned the house to the ground, and then I believe from there the family had moved to Detroit. And Reverend Errol Little, as we all know, was thrown across a streetcar track where the streetcar cut Mr. Little's body in half. Also, too, Mrs. Little had tried to collect on his life insurance policy, and a white life insurance company, kept the money saying that he committed suicide. Now, how in the entire fuck is a man going to hit himself in the back of the head and then going to sit up there and lay across a streetcar track? Because as we all know, Mr. Little was a Garveyite, you see what I'm saying? And he did advocate Africa for the African. So quite naturally, of course, this had planted the seeds in Malcolm, to go on to the quest of what he did in his lifetime. And this is why it's very, very essential for young Black men and women to learn the histories of these individuals that we talk about here on Frontline Black News, so our people won't be confused. So our men folk don't go out here shoving ketchup up their ass talking about they menstruating. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Yeah,
that is
crazy
disgusting.
times.
Yes, sir. And then also too, Brother Che, on our
I got to move along.
yes, sir. And the next topic I believe was the update on the Black Charter of the George Floyd Scholarship ruled as discriminatory against whites.
I gotta pull that up, but
I got it right here, Brother Trey. Yeah, I got it right here. This is from NBC News. Okay, George Floyd Scholarship.
You can, if you have it right there, then you can. So let me stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Yeah, I have it right here. Okay, now we was just saying I need some instruction on that. How would I do that, Brother Che?
Or at the very bottom where it says present, you want to click that.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And then you want to
and then where I go?
screen.
Then I hit share screen.
Yep. And then you find the tab that you want to share.
Okay. Share screen. Okay. Yeah, here we go right here. Okay, I'm sharing it. Okay. All right, Brother Che, I know you're tired. Okay, this is off of NBC News. George Floyd Scholarship accused of discriminating against non-Black students in federal complaint. Ain't that a bitch? They filed a federal complaint. Boy, these some nasty motherfuckers, boy, I'm telling you.
Can't see it.
The George Floyd, huh?
You can't see it.
You can't see it.
No, you got to share the screen.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, do you see it now?
See it, though. Let me see. Oh, okay.
Okay, you see it?
Yep.
Okay. The George Floyd Memorial Scholarship offered at North Central University in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, of all places, ain't that a bitch, is being accused of violating the Civil Rights Act according to a federal complaint. The Legal Insurrection Foundation filed the complaint Monday with the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights. The conservative nonprofit group says its mission is devoted to advancing free expression and academic freedom on campuses. Okay, the foundation claims the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship is violating Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. You see how these goddamn hypocrites are? To be eligible for the scholarship in question, the applicant must be a student who is Black or slash, African American. That is a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa, according to the university. Students who do not meet the prerequisite racial category are automatically ineligible for the scholarship. Discrimination against white applicants is just as unlawful as discrimination against Black or other non white applicants. Complaint writers, civil rights attorneys Amir Bino and Cornell University law professor William Jacobson said. Okay, see, they full of shit. Regardless of NCU's reasons for sponsoring and promoting the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship, it is violating Title VI by doing so. North Central University did not immediately respond to an NBC News request for comment. The George Floyd Memorial Scholarship was created in 2020 to contribute toward the educational promise of inspiring young Black leaders. Okay, the scholarship is still accepting applications for the 24-25 academic school year, and the recipient will be selected by June. Okay, first place. Let me just say this here, people, and I want to make this perfectly clear. These motherfuckers, who sat up there and said that shit, they can go suck a dog's dick. Okay? Oh, I'm making it plain. Okay, you don't want our people to have shit. You still want us to be your goddamn slaves. Since you don't have us in physical bondage, you want to put us in mental bondage. This all-inclusive shit is an illusion. It's a goddamn illusion. Okay, and I'm making it plain. We must do for self. You see what I mean? Why the fuck you think all these other groups are coming here, man, up there setting up businesses in a Black community? They take that money out of the community and they use that as their seed money. You see what I'm saying? For their high-tech ventures and what have you. But don't nobody say a goddamn thing about that when they exclude us from that.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, so I wanted to make that plain on that.
I'm gonna move to the next topic.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Here in Denver, we have a Black school, 280 school, and then reapply for their DPS charter.
Okay.
So it's a Black school, all Black school, Black teachers, Black students, Black. Our flag in the classroom.
Okay, the red, black, and green.
Branta Lockett's familiar spot.
Around, but yes,
each word she writes,
it's like 139 pages right now,
brings her seeing the 5280 Freedom School.
Use problem-based learning, but we're also Black centered, so we center Black college
school. Executive Director filling the gap DPS identified in its 2019 Black Excellence Resolution,
which basically said that Black, it's right. For
luckily, she isn't starting from school. She applied for a charter 2 years but couldn't meet enrollment requirements.
It was devastating to see this beautiful dream for our Black babies just end the way it did.
Despite this, she's back in front of her computer.
Still the need. There's the need. This piece around just being intentionally small part. Another part of it is just the budget, right? Making sure really that the yes in June can strong recruitment strategies, we will open 5.
Blacc is encouraging people in the community to write DPS letters of support and non-binding intents to enroll 5280 Freedom School. She says she has
And in theory, 25. So it's about a year, right? The thing works in their favor.
Absolutely, and that early as possible, hopefully in June. It's not something they had the last time they applied, so they really want those summer months that recruitment going to.
Okay, we will continue to follow the progress. Janelle, thank you.
Okay, Shabaka.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what are your thoughts on that?
Educationally, financially, commercially, culturally. I'm all for it. And I'm making it plain. Fuck these other groups. We don't give a good goddamn if you hate it or not. We don't give a fuck if you don't like it. But one thing you motherfuckers better do is respect it.
Right.
Because, you know, all inclusion is an illusion. The X-Man told you that. The X-Man straight said, and this is a direct quote, integration is infiltration. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And like Dr. John Henry Clark said, is that when you get these other groups of people that go off into black organizations or black causes, they're not there to help the organization or the cause. They're there to destroy it within.
Yeah, they're there to infiltrate.
Exactly. Same thing happened with the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And as we all know, the Black Liberation Army was an offshoot of the Black Panthers, except they kept it exclusively black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Queen Mother gave a lecture on that.
Oh, yep, she sure did. So, I look forward to the school opening up. Hopefully, they hit their enrollment goals this time around, and we can give our black children here in Denver Afrocentric, black first
education. Yes, sir. Because how the hell are you going to sit up here and appreciate all these other cultures when you cannot even appreciate and hate your own culture? It violates the law of physics. It violates the law of knowledge. I'm sorry, it violates the law of logic. And it also violates the law of economics.
Mm-hmm. I wish this type of school existed when I was in school.
Oh yeah, I wish they would have had them when I was in school. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then also too, another thing what our black schools need to emphasize too is our black children defending themselves.
Oh yeah, most definitely, Shabaki. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's my comments on this topic. So.
Oh yes, sir.
Moving. Welton Street Cafe is close to reopening.
Oh, okay.
At its new location on the 5 Points.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Historic Black district. That's the 5 Points in Northeast Denver.
Right, and then also too, of Jeff Fart. You know, here's this podcast. By the way, Mr. Fart, I left my calling card on your door, sir, and you yet to get with us. And I'm just simply making it plain, man, is that I don't think too much of you because the way how you censor Paris, and I don't mind you, censoring me.
Right now, he's in Greece. He's traveling right now.
Okay, so Jeff Fart, wait a minute. Now, let me make sure I understand this. So Jeff Fart is in Greece.
Mm-hmm. And he's talking about the ancient Egyptians were Greeks.
Oh, God, boy, the hashtag is resurrection of the mental dead. And that there proves why we needed such.
Yeah, so he's out there for spring break or some stupid shit.
In Greece.
Uh-huh.
And not too far from Ethiopia, where some of the world's most beautiful women come from, but he's out there in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I guess he's going to be making a trip to San Francisco too, huh? If you know what I mean.
I wouldn't.
Since he's in Greece.
Like he already showed, he wears dresses and all that.
So Jeff Fart is a cross. So he is a cross dresser. My.
He was wearing some very That's probably why he tried to mute me the first time I was on the show when I was running from here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So to hell with him. Getting to the Wall Street Cafe. So I know the owners and the family. So I guess they're starting to hire people too.
Okay, well, ask him to be a sponsor with us for our platform, man. You know what I'm saying? We'll charge him a nominal fee.
Yeah,
they're
not. I don't think they're Black first. They're
all inclusive
for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, so they're with the illusion of inclusion. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Not all of them, but a good majority of them are.
Okay, what about the managerial part of it? What's their viewpoint on it?
It was family owned. So.
Okay.
The mama and the daddy are still alive.
Okay.
And they have a whole bunch of kids. And I went to school with the kids.
Okay.
And my mom is married to one of the family members.
Okay. Hey, Jay Militant is with us. Hey, Jay Militant. Yeah, what's cracking? Foundational Black American Power. Happy C-Day, Lady Che. Cut the motherfucking check. Right on that. Yeah, we feel you on that. Yeah, okay, Jay Militant. Thank you so very much for joining us. Also, too, Jay Militant, could you tell me what the weather is like up there, man, in Northern California? Because from what I understand, man, y'all are getting hit with some torrential rain up there.
They were, not no more. That storm is hitting us now. And about to hit
Yeah, what happens is, man, when it rains in California, 2 days later, it's going to be snowing in Denver. Ask me how I know.
Yeah,
he says it'll be 70s all week until the weekend. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the 70s here, too.
Oh, okay. And it's still 56 degrees here in Las Vegas.
It is 37 degrees in Denver.
Well, that's about right for you guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Hell, this time of the year, it could turn around and be 90 degrees tomorrow in Denver.
Yeah.
And I would not have believed it had I not witnessed it, and I have witnessed it.
So I'm up from 7 News, which is our ABC affiliate.
Okay.
Well, after 2 years and a location change, Welton Street Cafe is getting close to opening its new restaurant. Mike, I can't believe it's been
get to this point after HVAC and landlord issues forced the restaurant to close in 2021. So I decided to follow up with the owners, and I got an update about when they expect to welcome back customers.
We're standing in the section where the dining room entrance is.
2 years ago, none of this seemed possible.
And then on that side is where the to-go entrance will be.
Separate entrance.
Standing inside the brand new Welton Street Cafe, co-owner Fatima Dickerson thinks about what it took to get here.
I don't feel like I'm past the grief, past the trauma of what has really happened to me and my family.
In 2021, while located at 27th and Welton, the cafe faced a broken HVAC system and landlord issues. Denver's Evan raised more than $40,000 to help. But ultimately, Welton Street would have to close, move, and figure out how to make ends meet.
So during the 2 years that we've been closed, we were catering, which has gotten put on pause because I have a torn meniscus and a strained MCL. My sister tore her ACL.
But as catering winds down, contractors are getting close to finishing the new space, not too far from the old one and still on Welton Street. And the man who first saw the
that's
restaurant
Welton Street.
Yeah. Can we interview you?
The Thima's dad, Flynn Dickerson, is keeping an eye on the progress.
Well, the restaurant actually started when we were back in the islands. My mom could cook so well. I'm gonna make $1 million off of your cooking. So we started selling it.
40 years later,
60 fires on this.
It's even more room to crank out those famous honey hot wings.
Will you share the recipe with me, Flynn?
Well, it's honey and hot sauce. What makes honey hot so good is our homemade seasoning. And I brought the community from the islands here, and I was determined when I came in 5 points, this was going to be like a community thing, and it turned out to be community.
Right.
So I'm grateful for my community.
That's
And we had
positive.
to ask the question
I
the
like.
community has been craving the answer to.
When can we expect Welton Street Cafe to start serving up those honey hot wings again?
We're looking for a Christmas miracle. So if we can do a Christmas miracle, we hope to feed some families on Christmas Day.
Okay, so they're targeting to be open by the end of the fall, I take it.
Reporting in 5 points, Micah Smith.
When they can open is construction delays. They're hopeful construction will remain on schedule and plan to host a grand opening in the new year.
Oh, my God.
Okay. All righty.
Oh, I forgot that video was months ago. So that's probably what's
Oh, okay.
throwing me off. I'm like,
Oh, okay. So then it's they're open for business now. And I'm trying to remember, Brother Che, if I passed by them when I was there in Denver getting snowed on before the blizzard.
well, if you went down Welton, at the old Welton Plaza, at the old 5 Points Plaza, that's where they used to be located. But now they're up the street, literally across the street from Stupid Ass Jess, next to the Taco Uprising spot. That just opened
Okay, you
up.
know what? I think I did go there and leave a flyer for Frontline Black News over there. I think I did. It's because, like I said, I left a flyer on Jeff Fart's front door.
And then where they're moving to, that was the old Panther headquarters.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
On your screen, the next topic, I believe, which is the unhoused neighbor news and unhoused neighbor sweeps and migrant news and migrant sweeps. It's literally a block away from Liddy Chase.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. I see the screen of it appears to be a police officer standing behind yellow tape.
Yeah, and behind the police officer across the street, you see where it says now leasing?
Yes, sir.
So this is literally like a block away from Liddy Chase. So when we were telling you that all the element and all this shit by the old airport,
right?
So
Stapleton.
Used to be Stapleton, now it's Central Park.
Okay.
Yeah, so what used to be you remember that all black shopping center that used to be
Okay, Okay, say that again, Brother Che. You had acoustic problems. Acoustic problems.
So where this is right here, they're across the
Okay.
street where they put these high-rise condominiums up. There was
Okay.
a black shopping center.
Okay.
Like they had a beauty supply store, a clothing store,
Okay.
shoe store. It was a bunch of stores that were black owned. And somewhere in like the late 2000s,
Right.
that abandoned, and it was abandoned for a number of years, and they finally tore it all down. And years later, they built these goddamn condominiums.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Nobody can afford. They're like 2 G's a month just for a 1 bedroom.
So in other words, they gentrifying the area.
Yes, the whole area of North Aurora is being gentrified and ethnic cleansed.
Right. Same thing, just like over there in the West Adams district of Los Angeles. And also, too, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because
That's where the Hidden History Museum is located, Shabaki, and it just celebrated its year anniversary of operation. So the Hidden History Museum's been around for over a year now.
okay, over there in the
Umar
Jefferson
School's
Park district of Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. 2131 Jefferson Avenue.
Right, Jefferson Avenue and the cross street is Arlington, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know the
The
corner
address is
well in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the address is 2131 Jefferson Avenue.
Yeah, that'd be West Jefferson. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
West Jefferson Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and that there's between South Central and Baldwin Hills.
correct. All right, so was that your final thoughts on the topic that we just went over?
Yes, sir. You know, more power to it is because we definitely need some black commerce, because that's another element is that is going to save us. You see what I mean? Because we have to be real black family. Integration didn't work, man. It didn't work. And you know, in my 60 plus years of being on this planet, man, I'd be lying if I would have said anything else. It didn't work. If anything, it benefited every other motherfucking group except ours. Everybody else is coming to our group, sponging off of us to advance their agenda.
Yeah. So what are your
See, so
thoughts
this
on
is
the
what.
Wall Street Cafe reopening?
Oh, hey, man, that's great news. I've ate there a few times, man. You know what I'm saying? And then, God willing, if I
What did
make
you
it back
have?
to
What
Denver,
did you get?
what did I get at the times that I ate at the Walton Street Cafe? Oh, man, I got breakfast there a few times. I know that. Of course, I had, you know, some of the chicken and what have you, you know, and I had found the staff there to be quite pleasant, you know what I mean, and what
Yeah.
have you. And then on top of it too, and then when I was on the Black Wall Street, before I left there, went to another black-owned restaurant, you know, quite pleasant, you know, as well too. And they had a lot of books there, you know, as you're sitting, as you are waiting to be seated, you know, you could read a lot up on it. And also too, Brother Che, you should still have that video that I did from the Black Wall Street. And then hopefully before the end of the summer, you know, it's because I did promise the owner that I would come back and we'll interview him for Frontline Black News. And the thing that I appreciated about the owner is when I had asked him the history of what happened with the Black Wall Street, he simply stated that he'll let his son tell me. And young man was very articulate. Young man was very, very knowledgeable. You see, so this here goes to show why it is very, very essential for the black father to be in black households. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They say, and to all you black men out there, be careful of these Beckys. I'm telling you. And then you could hit us with hate mail tomorrow, you know, in our chat room as we do Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. No, yeah, day after tomorrow, because today, is today Sunday or Monday, man?
It's Tuesday now. Well, it's
Oh,
supposed to be Tuesday.
okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Still Monday where
Okay.
you're at, but it's Tuesday where
Yeah,
I'm at.
for the next 25 minutes. Yeah. Oh, okay, because I'm looking at 11:35 my time, so it's 12:35 your time. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, get with us Tuesday. You know, tomorrow. You know, April the 2nd. For Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. The number to call in is 516-418-5996. For all our haters out there, please put your hate mail in our chat room. We'll be more than happy to read it. You know, and Sarge, we're putting it out there. We are charging you with desertion if you do not report, you know, to your duty station tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sarge. You know what I mean? Because I got some books here for you, Sarge. Oh, I got some knowledge right here for you. You know what I mean? You know, the only thing what that does is just keep us sharper. And also, too, we wanted to let it be known out here on these public airwaves, when we deal with Black history, folks, when we deal with African history, this is not hatred, okay? Because in our hearts, what we're doing is that we are making our youth more knowledgeable of the great legacy of where they come from. Because Black history did not start on no goddamn plantation system.
No. And it's a lot longer. It's a lot longer than they let us know. So, down to the last. I'm glad that Wall Street Cafe is opening back up.
Yep.
My favorite thing is Kansas. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I love the honey hot fish. I love the green size. Just about everything about Wild Cafe. That was home. See a real great thing. So that and very much.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the Unhoused Neighbor News and the Unhoused Neighbor Suites. And also the migrant news.
Yep, for the migrant flooded city. Okay, so we're waiting for Brother Che to get back here off into the studio. Okay, it's because it appears we're having some technical difficulties. And then, as the avatar says there, love truth even if it hurts you, and hate lies even if they help you. Okay, Brother Che is back. And we're having technical issues right here, as we always do. This shit is systemic, people, because they don't like this truth. Okay.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of crazy shit going on here in Denver in regards to the unhoused and the migrants. So
Right.
It's been a very, it's been an uptick in crime.
Right.
And especially violent crime. And
right.
Away from where Lady Che lives, somebody was shot recently.
Wow.
And a block or two from where I live, somebody was shot and killed recently as well. And
Sorry to hear that.
Another one of these hotels, motels that they converted into homeless and migrant shelters.
Mm-hmm. And then, Brother Che, research that I done over the net about that, man, is that there was one of them hotels where they found 7 dead bodies, man, like in the last 3 years.
Shabaka, that's the one that's right up the street from me. And it could be my same building. It's been a lot of people that's ended up dead in this building that I'm living in.
Wow, well, protect yourself, man. Protect yourself, sir.
Where I live's not a migrant shelter. But up the road from me is a migrant shelter and a homeless shelter or unhoused neighbor shelter. So,
Okay,
yeah,
and then
every time I step out the door, I'm keeping my head on a swivel, and I always keep
absolutely,
something with me at all times. So you're not gonna catch me.
absolutely,
But
absolutely,
I'm
and
gonna
then
play this clip, Shabaka. You
yes,
know,
sir.
short on time.
Okay, I would appreciate Jay Militant staying up with us if he's with us. And Jay Militant, is out of the Bay Area over there in NorCal. He's right by Silicon Game Valley. And also to Silicon Game Valley, you guys are full of shit. Okay.
Oh, Lady K says hi, and she's really sad she wasn't able to participate tonight on her
Okay, well,
show.
hopefully she'll be feeling better and what have you. Okay. Yeah,
Yes,
who hosts the Revolutionary Agenda
yes,
and what have you. Okay.
yes. And we just celebrated her 44th C day, so
Okay, all righty. Okay, 44 years. Okay, so let me see here, 2024. So Lady Che was born in 1976. If I'm doing my math right. Yeah, no, she was born in 1976, 78.
Oh, 80.
Oh, okay. So, 1980. Okay. So she's the same age as our contributor, Sister Akshita. Okay. All righty. Well, yeah. So enjoy your 40s because it gets more and more difficult after you pass 50. Ask me how I know. Okay. We appreciate Brother Che and Kruma, for having us on here. And then also to April the 2nd.
I gotta put this clip to Bucky.
Oh, yes, sir. Most definitely.
Play. So it's the one the deep comes with doing that. So I'm gonna let that play.
Okay.
Denver hotel.
Week. Sponsor 21's Talia Cunningham is on it with renewed calls for safety, all new at 9. Talia.
Well, Erica, concerns are definitely growing, and especially with the recent spike in crime. So Denver police tell us, take a look here, since January 1st of this year, they've responded to over 450 calls for service at this same shelter. Those include things like drugs, assault, and domestic violence. And in just the last 12 days, we can now add attempted murder and double homicide to that list. So let's take you back on March 16th. Officers responded to this shelter for shots fired, finding 2 people dead inside one of those rooms.
That's the one that's right up the street.
Okay.
Excuse me. It's like on the side of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
It's gotten so bad there that the credit union that's located over there, they're threatening to close down.
Well, I would imagine so. They would have to, Brother Che, with double homicide and an attempted murder case. So they're going to cite a safety issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is happening with a lot of homeless.
I stayed there when it was an actual hotel. And back then, this is like almost 10, this has been like 10 years ago. Back then, it was like $100 a night.
Wow. That's bad.
The medical examiner identifying the victims as 43-year-old Sandra Cervantes and 38-year-old Dustin. No suspect information has been released at this time, but right after, we know the city and DPD took action implementing new security measures, things like cameras, increased patrols, photo ID badges, and for residents and more. However, just last night, another shooting took place shortly before midnight. Police say a woman was shot in the neck at that same shelter and is now listed in stable condition. The shooting stemmed over a conflict between those 2 people involved, and today we heard from Denver's police chief, Ron Thomas, who said that they're doing everything they
can. Know who did the shooting. Like, we know them from the first.
We try to identify
where those guns are. We have deployed some covert assets in order to try to identify rooms where there may be weapons or other illegal contraband. Some of those efforts have been successful, but certainly I think there's the potential that there could be more dangerous items within that facility.
And we know 2 men were arrested just this morning and are behind bars tonight, being held for attempted murder in last night's shooting. Chief Thomas added that the new security cameras helped them identify and locate those 2 suspects, allowing officers to lock down that facility and obtain warrants quickly. It's also worth noting tonight that there are now metal detectors up and running at this facility, but they were recently installed, meaning there still could be weapons inside. But as you just heard Chief Thomas say, they do have covert assets working to confiscate them.
The city of Denver is off.
Yeah, good luck with that. They're already in there. You got a huge problem on your hands. This is gonna get worse, unfortunately. Same video. Shabaka, are you still there? So this video I'm gonna play. Tab isn't responding right. So got disconnected.
At a hotel. Turned homeless shelter after the second shooting there in less than 2 weeks.
The bill. Thousand Initiative. Fox 31's Andrea Henderson joining us live with a very
I'm back now. Connected again.
Among residents.
There's some real mean people around.
Residents sharing their concerns after the second shooting in less than 2 weeks at this hotel turned shelter off Quebec Street.
These things could have been prevented.
According to Denver police, a woman was found in the shelter with a gunshot wound to the neck around 11 10:30 Wednesday night. Hours later, police arrested a 34-year-old man for investigation of attempted first-degree murder.
A couple hundred people living in here with different attitudes each and every day. And some of the employees ain't trained to deal with all that stuff.
This comes after 2 people were shot and killed inside the shelter on March 17th. As a result, the city added security guards, placed metal detectors at the entrance, added security cameras, and additional police patrols. But Chief Ron Thomas says there might be weapons already inside.
Are taking measures to try to identify, where those guns are. We have deployed some covert assets in order to try to identify rooms where there may be weapons or other, illegal contraband.
Anna Lilith Miller with Housekeys Action Network Denver says security is helpful, but that alone is not going to fix the problem.
You need to have people who are trained to deal with people who have been through some serious trauma.
Since January 1st, there's been more than 450 calls for service to this location, incidents ranging from assault to theft.
When you have staff that's trained with de-escalation and things like that and are trauma informed, that is the best way to stop this. You can put all the metal detectors you want. You can get all the security guards you want, but things are still going to get through the cracks.
And that other person that was also arrested for last night's shooting, they're also facing investigation of attempted first-degree murder. So as police continue to investigate this case, you are asked to call Denver police. You can contact our partners at Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. Live here in Denver, Andrea Henderson, Fox 31.
All right, Andrea.
Sparks fly inside a packed Village Hall in South Suburban Dalton. Residents confronting embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard. They say they want answers about Henyard, an unnamed village trustee, and a controversial trip to Las Vegas last May. NBC5's Regina Waldrop in Dalton tonight with the story.
It was a packed village board meeting, but there were still people outside who could not get in. They were banging on doors, windows, chanting, and with that in mind, 4 trustees abruptly walked out, and this meeting was adjourned.
I'm still speaking. You're out of order, clerk. You out of order.
In Dalton Monday night, a chaotic village board meeting. It got underway an hour late because of a credible threat, according to police. Only a limited number of residents were let into the building, and they had to pass through a metal detector. Those who were not let in protested outside. A short time later, the meeting abruptly ended when 4 trustees walked out.
The Open Meetings Act requires that that we have enough space for everybody to get in.
That's what happened in Illinois and Dalton with that crazy ass mayor. My apologies.
Here at 5, we are getting answers about renewed safety concerns at a former hotel terminal.
The city of Denver is offering a stark warning to newly arriving migrants.
Okay, so the next one is a video from inside the shelter, one of the migrant shelters. Shows city official trying to convince the illegal immigrants to move on.
Migrants, stay here and you will suffer. Denver's offering migrants help to move on to anywhere else in the country. Tonight, for the first time, we're able to see how Denver tries to convince migrants to leave in video obtained by Next from inside a migrant shelter.
The opportunities are over. That's Andres Carrera, political director for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston. Carrera is Denver's so-called newcomer communications liaison. That means that he meets the busloads of new arrivals. The city says this group got here on March 26, sent up by Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He warns them the jobs, the resources, the opportunities have already gone to the 40,000 migrants who came to Denver before them.
Mira, no te vamos a bloquear. Si quieres permanecer aquí, no estoy aquí para bloquearte, estoy aquí para avisarte que tu camino no ha terminado. Si permanecen aquí, te vas a sufrir hasta más, y esto no lo quiero ver.
Parents listen quietly as children play on the floor. As Denver tells these families that have sometimes walked from one continent to another that they just have to keep moving, but they don't have to walk. Denver will buy them a bus ticket.
Tu camino no ha terminado. Tu camino no ha terminado. Que viajas un tantito más. No tienes que caminar por ningún parte. Podemos comprarte boleto gratuito. Gratuito. Puedes ir a cualquier ciudad. Hasta la frontera de Canadá te llevamos. A donde sea. Donde sea.
The city says it won't buy bus tickets to Canada, but it will help migrants get to American border cities up north. It's a desperate pitch by Denver, a city that has taken in more migrants per capita than any city outside the southern border and is looking at $120 million in budget cuts to pay for migrant services. The moment of truth. Who in the crowd wants to go to a different city? And who wants to stay in Denver? Todos, a migrant says. Everyone.
The clock is now ticking for the migrants who arrived on that bus. Families have 6 weeks in Denver shelters and then they must go. Individuals get 14 days in shelter. As they were warned, after that, there may not be resources to help them. It has happened again. Another shooting at Denver's most watched hotel, one of the shelters set up by the city for people who've been living on the streets. The latest shooting comes 2 weeks after 2 people were killed there and the city promised better security. Denver police say a woman was injured in a shooting inside a room at the old DoubleTree off Quebec and I-70 shortly before midnight last night. Police have taken 2 people into custody. All of them live there. The mayor's office promised more security at that hotel after 2 people were shot and killed in a room there earlier this month. The city's adding unarmed guards and new metal detectors, promising to check in with each resident every week to see how they're doing. As Next first reported here last night, the Salvation Army got $800,000 from the city for security at that hotel shelter that the Salvation Army operates. But they tell us they only used a little bit of that as they spent months researching security options. Kelly Rinke's along now with some answers about how the city is going to get this security money back now that taxpayers are paying for the city to provide security.
Well, yes. So now that the city is going to be offering security, Salvation Army won't be using those funds anymore. So Denver is now looking to amend that contract to take that $800,000 back. It does not appear that the city right now is looking to change any other agreements with the Salvation Army. 7 deaths have happened at the former DoubleTree this year alone, way more than other hotel sites in that district. Denver's housing department says the DoubleTree is a much larger facility, and its director pointed to the fact that the city gets thousands of calls every year for people staying outdoors.
It is, our belief that once we get people inside, they are safer. We have people in one location where we can really help provide them support.
Yesterday, Salvation Army told us the deaths are a matter of putting problems it used to see at encampments across the city in one area. Councilwoman Chantel Lewis doesn't accept that explanation. Her district has 4 city-run shelters while others have 1 or 0. For months, she's been worried about concentrating poverty in her district, and now she's concerned people aren't getting the resources they need.
It's been an 8-month battle of patience and frustration, and I am devastated and absolutely disappointed that it has taken the loss of life for people to be like, oh wait, maybe what Councilwoman Lewis was talking about is actually the right approach.
Denver's Department of Housing Stability says in addition to the security, they are working with Salvation Army to increase wraparound services at their sites.
You understand what they're saying, right? When they say, well, we've concentrated these folks who are dealing with big life traumas in one spot. Of course, there are going to be issues, but at the same time, I think people are shaken by the idea of week after week there being serious violence at this spot.
And what Councilwoman Lewis was saying is, from someone who has experience being unhoused, she says, it's great that we're getting people housed, but we need to make sure that once they are there, once they have a room, that they get the services they need. She feels that we're seeing all of these incidents because that is not happening.
Can't just warehouse people, you got to help people. All right, Kelly Rinke, thank you.
Afternoon, we're learning an arrest has been made in a shooting at a Denver city shelter overnight. It left a woman in the hospital. This comes just after a week over a double homicide at that same shelter. It happened at the former DoubleTree Hotel near Quebec Street. It's now used to house the homeless. Police have arrested a suspect in today's shooting. This is 34-year-old Cameron Ware. According to investigators, the victim and suspect knew each other, and that shooting was likely targeted because of a previous conflict. Ware is now being held for that investigation of attempted homicide. And this isn't the first issue there either. Just weeks ago on March 16th, there was a double homicide. With nearly 500 calls to police, more security measures are now being implemented. That means monitoring the site 24/7, a sign-in system, and cameras. Last year, the city of Denver signed a $10 million contract with the Salvation Army to run this shelter. That includes security and other services. Now, the city hoping for more accountability. Your reporter in Denver, Jasmine Arenas, joins us live from that shelter tonight. So, Jasmine, what is the latest?
Well, the city is working with the Salvation Army to increase security measures at this shelter. They're doing it through a 7-point action plan to increase more guards at this shelter and even a badge system. Councilwoman Chantel Lewis tells me this is needed, and if there is no accountability, nothing will change.
Just before midnight Wednesday night, police surrounded the former Doubletree Hotel, now being used as a shelter for the homeless. The reason, another shooting.
What's disappointing is that tragedy had to strike in order for folks to listen to what I've been saying for 8 months.
Just weeks ago, a shooting at the shelter ended the life of 2 people. According to our investigator Brian Moss, in the first 3 months after the hotel became a homeless shelter, the number of calls to police and first responders went up to 2,900%.
That we need to make sure that we are collecting data and hearing directly from the residents to make sure that they have the resources that they need.
And even with more security measures on site, including 24/7 surveillance, the problems continue. Councilwoman Lewis says the situation is better at other shelters in the city, like the Tamarack Family Shelter.
For this particular site, we have both a shelter operations team support and the programs team support, and we coordinate with this program at least weekly.
If they replicate that across the board, not only will that one maintain its success, that we'll have success across Denver.
The Safety Committee passed the $8 million contract with the Salvation Army to provide services for the Tamarack Family Shelter, where more than 200 people have been connected to either employment or employment services.
I'm actually really excited to hear that our shelter providers are providing the services in which we've been advocating for 8 months. And I'm excited to see that to be expanded consistently throughout all of our sites, specifically in District 8.
These are services that she wants expanded to sites like this one, which it is known as the Aspen, the former Doubletree Hotel. And so the city does tell me that they have been providing trauma counseling for the hundreds of people and guests at the shelter. Live in Denver, Jasmine Arenas covering Colorado First.
All right, Jasmine, thank you for looking into that for us. Jasmine is your reporter in Denver. She covers a variety of issues for you, everything from million-dollar investments to reconnect Denver neighborhoods to the arrival of migrants and how the city is working to help them. You can find more of Jasmine's reporting on cbscolorado.com.
Happened last night at one of our housing resolution sites at 4040 Quebec. So what I understand happened at this time is about 11:40 last night. Denver police received a call of a shooting at that location. We arrived there very quickly, within minutes, and were directed to a room within that facility where a woman was located suffering from a gunshot wound to the neck. Paramedics arrived very quickly on scene shortly thereafter. Was able to transport her to the hospital where she's currently listed in stable condition. After all of our life-saving efforts, we quickly began to secure witnesses and identify exactly what happened. We were also given access to the camera system that is on site there, where we could see what was going on inside of the facility. We quickly were able to identify a suspect location. At that point in time, we locked down the facility with the assistance of on-site staff and then applied for a search warrant. We were ultimately able to get a search warrant that was executed very early this morning, where we did take one suspect into custody and another individual into custody that we believe was also involved in this particular incident. At this time, the investigation continues, really trying to understand exactly, how this situation took place. We do believe that it emanated from some sort of a conflict between the involved parties. Certainly anyone who is aware of exactly how this started or can even provide information about this particular incident or about weapons that may currently be in the facility, we certainly appreciate having that information. You can call us at Crime Stoppers, which is 720-913-STOP. I can tell you that, yes, there was a double homicide that occurred there about 10 days ago. And immediately following that incident, there were some security enhancements that were put in place that actually did prove to be very helpful in this situation. I think Dr. Rive can provide some additional context and information as it relates to that. But are there any specific questions as it related to the shooting that occurred yesterday? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So currently, we do have, again, security on site. We have increased security to have 8 full-time security guards there, staffed by the city. We are currently working with Salvation Army to increase their wraparound support and services. We've also, like the chief said, installed cameras. We have host staff on site helping be more hands-on and supporting the providers and the guests as well. And again, I just want to reiterate that the safety of the guests, the staff, and the surrounding community continue to be our top priority.
That is our belief. Are in place right now, and we believe they are effective. Certainly, if there was a weapon that was inside the facility prior to that, it would have been detected. We are taking measures to try to identify, where those guns are. We have deployed some covert assets in order to try to identify rooms where there may be weapons or other, illegal contraband. So some of those efforts have been successful, but certainly I think there's the potential that there could be more dangerous items within that facility, which is certainly why we are making that request that anybody that's aware of that, please just let us know.
Question for Jamie. In light of these 2 shootings and also 7 total deaths at the DoubleTree, are people safe in the DoubleTree? Are they safer on the street because of this?
Yeah, so we know that every year thousands of calls go to DPD for people staying outdoors. And so it is, our belief that once we get people inside, they are safer. We have people in one location where we can really help provide them support. And the other types of support that aren't just enforcement, but it's case management, it's access to housing, it's 3 meals a day. It's a place to be able to be safe. And so, yes, we have definitely experienced, some different growth with this, and we get thousands of calls every year for people staying outdoors, and are working diligently to make sure that people have all the supportive services that they need. It's a much larger facility, so there are more people there is one of the reasons. We also it's set up a little differently. There are some challenges around like access points, things like that. But again, we've worked on with security, and yeah, exactly. So making sure that doors are secure, people have one access point. We now have swipe cards in place to make sure that the residents have a kind of a picture ID that has a swipe card that links to a system that we use. Off the top of my head. Yeah, we can get that number later. Happy to.
Yes, that is something that we're looking at. We do know that the 2 suspects that were arrested today were in fact residents. We do know that other folks that have been involved in other situations were not necessarily residents. And certainly, I think all of the current residents have been issued ID cards, and there's, I think, plans in the works to better identify who should be there and who should not.
Yeah, so there was a guest agreement in place, and again, we're looking at with the support and partnership with the Salvation Army to update that protocol and make sure that it meets the needs of the facility now. Yeah, there are 8 at the doors, as well as a single point of access now.
What's the message to residents?
Yeah, I was out there last week, and one of the things that they noted is that they were particularly grateful for the fact that we have increased security. Everyone wants to feel safe. And with these measures that are in place, they're feeling safer. And again, we're going to continue to evaluate and figure out what the best path forward is to make sure that everyone is safe. Yeah, great question. So there was an $800,000 line item for security at the site. And so what we are going to be looking at is we need to do a contract amendment to, now that the city is stepping in to do that security, does there need to be a contract amendment in order to do those funds? Yes, because it's not going to be something that they're using. Yeah, good question. So different sites have different security needs. So some, like DoubleTree, where there are so many points of access, require a bit more security. Some of our family sites may not require quite as much security. So what we try to do is make sure that we're on the ground, evaluating those needs and making sure that we're meeting the needs of residents and the surrounding communities and staff, keeping them safe, while making sure that we're being thoughtful about how we do that. Right now, we're working through just that contract, that particular budget piece.
The Salvation Army is talking for the first time since 7 deaths at a homeless hotel shelter it runs in Denver. The city of Denver is now taking over security at that site. The Salvation Army tells us the deaths are just a matter of concentrating the problems that used to be spread out at homeless encampments across the city.
The reality is there are people that are going to be dying in our hotels, and they have died from overdoses and other various reasons. Some of them, yes, are visitors, and some of them are residents. The reality is we know that happens.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston's spokesperson says the city stepped in to take over security at the former DoubleTree at Quebec and I-70 as a directive from the city, not because of a request by the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army tells a different story, that it asked the city to step in and take over security. Earlier this month, 2 people were shot and killed there. The Salvation Army got hundreds of thousands of dollars from the city for security at those locations, but they tell us that they didn't use much of the money because they had spent months researching security options. Now that the city has stepped in, there are security officers at each shelter entrance limiting who comes and goes. Very different from how the Salvation Army managed the site.
A lot of our facilities are not prisons. So they're not run like a prison. So people have the freedom to come and go. We're trying to help transform people's lives. We're trying to help people actually make their way forward. So in that sense, it's just like your home. When you have a home, you invite guests in, you engage with them.
The Salvation Army is up for a new $8 million contract to run a family shelter in Denver's Hamden neighborhood. The city would handle security there as well. And the mayor's office said today that the Salvation Army has been an essential partner, that they look forward to working with them. A city council committee approved that contract today. It now goes up for a full council vote.
With 2 homes and more than $100,000 stolen, the Arapahoe Sheriff's Office now investigating back-to-back burglaries, one of them caught on camera.
Yeah, you see it right here. Investigators hope that someone can identify the suspects. And tonight, Fox 31's Rachel Sauer is live in Aurora telling us why this means homeowners need to be even more cautious going forward. Rachel.
Yeah, that's right. And one of those incidents happened in the neighborhood just right behind me, involving 3 men and a woman. The other 3 men, all of those suspects currently at large.
This terrifying video is every homeowner's worst nightmare. This burglary happened just a few days ago on March 23rd at 10:30 in the morning, and the Arapahoe Sheriff's Office says the men you see here made off with $112,000 in designer purses, cash, and jewelry.
The unique thing about that one is the one male that had the traffic vest, or bright orange construction vest on.
The vest, deputies are hoping, will help set these suspects apart from others.
It's very important if somebody recognizes these people, if they would call our tip line.
Because a month earlier,
we came home and turned the corner and we saw a lot of police activity.
A similar burglary took place.
It's always been a very safe family-friendly neighborhood.
It happened on February 27th, just a few houses down from Lisa Finnegan.
They entered through a sliding glass door by smashing it. They rummaged through the bedroom and stole about $6,000 in cash.
Police say they left in this Nissan you see here. The fact that this seemed out of character for this neighborhood left some feeling unsettled.
It's just, I guess, the climate of the world right now. It's concerning.
The sheriff's office is hoping someone will recognize these suspects, but for now,
make sure, if you have cameras, make sure they're running and recording. Be sure that to secure your deadbolts on your house.
Now, the sheriff's office says they're not sure if there's a connection between the two cases yet. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of the suspects is asked to submit a tip to the Arapahoe Sheriff's tip line. Live in Aurora, Rachel Sauer, Fox 31.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Tonight, migrants in the city are clashing over two camps that are swept in one day. This one in front of Elitch Gardens, and then this new one in Southwest Denver. The migrants refusing to stay at shelters, and the city is stopping their efforts to set up a new site. Fox 31's Rogelio Mata is joining us live this evening with that ongoing feud, all new at 9. Rogelio.
Yeah, Erica, this new site was actually a landing spot for some of the migrants who were swept up from that Elitch Gardens location. In fact, we learned from city officials that some of those migrants refused to be bused to a shelter as a form of protest. Jose Duarte from Venezuela was part of this encampment in West Denver. He says police wanted to give him a citation for standing on this block. Officers from DPD's street engagement team helped clear the encampment, composed mostly of single men like Josue. He says they're gathering their belongings and looking for another place to camp, and that shelters don't follow through with supplies they promised. Josue says with a work permit, him and others who tried to camp here can get into apartments and off the streets.
For the last week, we've been really doing intensive outreach.
Officials from Denver Human Services say they've been more than accommodating to these migrants ahead of the sweep at Elitch Gardens.
We told everyone there, we communicated to them that we can provide you 3 weeks in congregate shelter, we can connect you with nonprofits. We can do a lot of good work in 3 weeks.
One complaint has been about food, which the city says shelters offer.
Even worked with maybe being able to cook a little bit there, because that's been an issue there.
Part of the reason these folks declined to be bused to a shelter, one unidentified person among them who was denied entry.
And so everyone else, even though they are able and eligible for congregate shelter, declined to go in.
The city says that person threatened an employee at a shelter and is no longer allowed, but can stay at any other homeless shelter. Still, these folks choose to camp.
That was ratified by the voters. It was put to the ballot by the voters. There is a camping ban in effect in the city, and we all have to abide by the rules.
Despite the circumstance, one man saw the chance to help, taking a migrant family to buy groceries.
I just feel like there are a lot of people in need, and I've got an opportunity to do that, and I'm just thankful that I have an opportunity.
Wow, this is incredible right here.
Right, so
Brother Parrish is still with us.
We saw today was a family with 3 very young children. We asked the city, and they said they are looking into making arrangements for that family this evening. We're live in Denver. Rogelio Mata, Fox 31.
All right, Rogelio, thank you.
As police are yet again investigating an early morning shooting at what used to be a hotel that has been a homeless shelter.
Yeah, one person taken to the hospital. This all happening at that former DoubleTree Hotel, now converted to a homeless shelter. Courtney Fromm joins us live outside of the hotel. Courtney, so what do we know about this incident and other incidents at the same location?
Yep, good morning, Kirk and Ashley. We just heard from Denver police that the victim in all of this is an adult female, but she is expected to be okay. The other interesting thing, though, is I walked into the hotel a little bit earlier to use the restroom, and you have to go through metal detectors in order to do so. So we asked Denver police, how did a gun get inside the hotel? Because that is where the shooting happened. They said that is all part of the investigation this morning. We do know that call came in, though, around 11:30 last night. You can see still very active scene here behind me, but like you guys said, as of mid-March, our team learned there have been 414 calls for service just since January 1st of this year. Now, back on March 17th, 2 people were found dead inside the hotel following a shooting. And in response to that shooting, the city of Denver enacted a 7-point action plan to address the safety and security concerns here. People expressing, those even who live inside this hotel, that they don't feel safe. Now, the site, it is staffed 24/7. Now, the plan that plan includes a new management role, responsibility for oversight of all unsheltered response and outreach, along with more staffing and case management to help, and of course, increased patrol. And they also are adding a badging system for site access. Now, like I said, It's adult female. She is expected to survive, so that is the good news this morning. We did ask Denver police if there's going to be any more changes to that plan, following another shooting at this hotel. They have not yet responded to that, but victim is going to be okay, and we're just still curious on how a gun actually got inside through those metal detectors. But for now, live in Denver, Courtney from Fox 31.
Well, this morning, the city of Denver expected to conduct a sweep of a large immigrant encampment near the grounds of Elitch Gardens.
Well, they came out to make the sweep, and everybody was already gone. Jim Hooley is live in Denver this morning. Jim, I mean, that's good, right? I mean, these folks got the warning, and they actually said, let's get out of here before the sweep happens. And so the cleanup is underway now, right?
The cleanup is underway, and Kirk, I got to tell you, they did find one person here.
Brother Jay, you still with us?
They found that one person. He was awake, and they have taken him. They're talking to him right now, and they're going to take him to hopefully one of the shelters here. But you can see the cleanup underway here. Some of the crews here taking down some of the tents that were here. We had about 50 people living here all together. People signing off here as well. But you can see the one spot over here too, and we've been talking about this morning. The city officials, I got to do the same thing. I got to give the people that were here a lot of credit, because you can see that pile of debris, rubbish, and trash. They put it all in bags and put it out there for the city crews to pick up. We're waiting for the trucks to get here now to take some of the garbage. Most of the people that were here, they spent yesterday packing up their belongings, getting ready to move out. The migrants that were here, again, mainly from Venezuela, Central America, they say they wanted to make this a planned departure, to take some control of things, and not as disruptive as some of the sweeps that have happened in the past here in Denver.
Signing off.
I think it's more important because we can save our stuff, and people just can be calmed down.
Reeves says some of the other encampments around the city have involved crews of, obviously the workers from the city and police as well. Police are here this morning keeping an eye on things, and many of the migrants say they simply wanted to avoid all of that. The city says everyone who is staying here will be offered a place to stay at a city-run shelter, and families will be able to stay in there for 42 days. So once again, only one person found here this morning, and we were down here all morning long since about 4 o'clock in the morning. That one person located in a tent. He's being taken care of right now. The cleanup is underway here. Where exactly everyone went, we don't know at this point. Hopefully some of them, if not all of them, went to the shelter that is this location near Elitch Gardens, being cleaned up this morning by the city crews. Live downtown near Elitch, I'm Jim Hooley, Fox 31.
Oh yeah, I think that's it.
Oh no, it's like that.
30, Denver is set to close more migrant shelters as the number of people receiving city help dwindles. City officials say 730 people are currently being sheltered, and that's a far cry from the nearly 5,000 from back in January. At the time, there were 7 shelters in use. In the last month, 3 shelter hotels were closed, and 3 of the remaining 4 will be closing this week. Denver officials also announcing that 1 of 2 congregate shelters closed on Saturday. In the last year and a half, Denver has supported more than 40,000 migrants at a cost of more than $63 million.
Also,
Denver's remaining hotel shelters for migrants will close today. That leaves the city with 2, and 1 of those will close by the end of the week. Denver's been making an aggressive push lately to get newly arrived migrants to leave town and to get those who stay into housing. Get a never-before-seen look at the process playing out in this video from inside a city shelter. It's the city's point person for communicating with migrants, telling them that jobs and resources are taken here, so they should go elsewhere. This video from Next is making national news today. There has been a drop-off in arrivals since last month, and that, together with the city's push to scale back services, has taken a migrant shelter population of 5,000 people at the beginning of the year down to about 700 people now. Denver's offering migrants who are arriving a bus ticket to anywhere else they want to go.
Nueva York te da más, Chicago te da más, entonces sugiero que vayas por allá, donde hasta también con una pérdida de más largo plazo, si permanecen aquí, vas a sufrir hasta más, y eso no lo quiero ver.
The city has said it estimates that it'll spend $120 million on migrant services this year, money that will need to be cut or moved elsewhere in the budget.
Denver leaders have closed 2 of the hotel shelters that have been housing migrants who've come to the city. Right now, the city is sheltering about 730 migrants.
But that's far below the 5,000 who are being helped in January. There were 7 hotels being used at that time, but as the number of migrants has fallen, so has the number of hotels helping them. City officials say 2 hotels remain, but one of them will also close this week. We'll tell you more about the push for migrants to go to other American cities coming up at 6 on Next.
City's support for migrants ends, nonprofit partners and churches step in, but there are new signs that even that assistance is reaching its limits.
The congregation, from the earliest onset, we said, let's give this a try till the end of March and see how it goes. We feel like it's a good season to close. Yes, the weather can be a little volatile out here, but we're also, we've done the best that we can.
Denver Friends Church, northwest side of the city, began opening its doors to dozens of migrants a night back in January. Volunteers ran an overnight shelter in their gym. They're winding that down this weekend. Pastor Keith Reeser says they are low on volunteers these days. The church tried to find migrants new communities somewhere in Kansas, places with lots of Spanish speakers and available work, but that idea fell through.
It's amazing to me how fast things can fall apart when you've worked for weeks to set something up, and just a few bad conversations and things can pivot on you in a whole different direction. So I find myself chasing and trying to help them really, really well to get established in this new community. And then that fell apart. And so then it's, okay, now we have to switch back into emergency mode. We have a family of 6 with 4 little children. So we don't want them on the street. We don't want them in a tent. So what's our next option?
At the last minute, Denver Friends Church found another church that will provide overnight shelter for a while. Denver Community Church is committed to take in all of the 29 migrants relying on the overnight shelter for the next 3 weeks.
Are you a White House official? Are you John Kirby? Where's your wife? I think thumbs up. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up from the bunny. All right. Thank you. Bye. Happy Easter. Oh, hello, everybody. Happy Easter Monday. So I have something at the top for all of you. I think you'll be really interested in this. So President Biden is scheduled to announce he is revoking the Hatch Act. So as a gift to all of you, so now I can actually take all your questions about 2024. No? I thought you would love that. All right, okay. April Fools, April Fools, April Fools. It is April 1st. Thank you. I thought that was pretty slick of me. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. In all seriousness, a couple things at the top. So, First Lady Jill Biden, Dr. Biden, a teacher for more than 30 years, is continuing her theme of education. For today's White House Easter egg roll, transforming the South Lawn and Ellipse into a school community full of fun, educational activities for children of all ages to enjoy. In total, approximately 40,000 people will take part in this year's event. 40,000 people. We do want to say a special thank you to the American Egg Board and America's egg farmers for continuing its more than 45-year history of support for the event and for its donation of 64,000 eggs used on the South Lawn and another 64,000 donated to the Capital Area Food Bank to match the eggs used for the roll. And I have some news for you at the top. I know many of you were asking this question over the weekend. President Biden will travel to Baltimore on Friday to visit the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge, meet with state and local officials, and get on the ground look at federal response efforts. The president is continuing to lead a whole of government approach to the collapse. President Biden and his team are working with Governor Moore, the congressional delegation, Mayor Scott, and numerous state and local officials to reopen the port, rebuild the bridge, and support the people of Baltimore. Through the Unified Command, the U.S. Coast Guard is coordinating a complex and highly coordinated effort to remove the wreckage with resources from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the state of Maryland, and others. Crane barges are on the scene supporting the mission. In addition, the Chesapeake 1000, the largest heavy lift crane barge on the East Coast, which is nearly 200 feet long and can lift 1,000 tons, arrived Thursday night. And on Saturday, the Unified Command successfully removed the first piece of wreckage. Last week, within hours of receiving the request, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced the immediate availability of $60 million in quick release emergency relief fund for the Maryland Department of Transportation. We're also doing everything that we can to help address economic impacts. On Saturday, the Small Business Administration quickly approved a disaster declaration and will provide low interest disaster loans to eligible affected businesses. Today, the SBA is launching 2 business recovery centers in Baltimore County. These centers will support impacted business owners in completing their disaster loan applications. The Department of Labor is working with local and state officials to determine how to assist workers out of work due to closure of the port. Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su is in Baltimore today meeting with stakeholders, and twice last week the White House convened a meeting for the Biden-Harris administration supply chain disruptors task force to discuss potential impacts on regional and national supply chains. As the president said, within hours of the collapse, this administration will be with the people of Baltimore every step of the way. We are with you, Baltimore, and we will be there until we get this done.
Air, land, and sea, like flying by
we
Air
will
Force
have
One.
more. We will have more information as we get closer to Friday. I think the important thing is the president has said he was going to go as soon as possible. Now he is going to go on Friday. We certainly will have more information to share. I just don't have any details at this time. Will?
Thank you. So the criticism over the Transgender Day of Visibility, the White House said that the president wouldn't abuse his faith for political purposes. Does the president think that's what Republicans are doing?
I mean, look, just a couple of things, and really so surprised by the misinformation that's been out there around this. And I want to be very clear. Every year for the past several years, on March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility is marked. And as we know, for folks who understand the calendar and how it works, Easter falls on different Sundays, right? Every year. And this year it happened to coincide with Transgender Visibility Day. And so that is the simple fact. That is what has happened. That is where we are. And I do want to say a couple of things because I think it's important here. As you just stated in your questions, what we've been hearing out there, a lot of misinformation done on purpose. And as a Christian, who celebrates Easter with family, President Biden stands for bringing people together and upholding the dignity and freedoms of every American. Now, sadly, and it's not surprising, right? It is actually unsurprising that politicians are seeking to divide and weaken our country with cruel, hateful, and dishonest rhetoric. It is dishonest what we have heard the past 24 hours. It is untrue what we heard over the weekend. And, you know, we were at first, want to be very clear, confused on their coverage. We're grateful that Fox agrees with President Biden about the importance of recognizing Trans Day of Visibility. And I'll just quote something that Fox said back in 2021. They tweeted this: Trans Day of Visibility is dedicated to celebrating transgender people. To all the transgender men, women, and non-binary folk, we see you and stand with you. President Biden will never abuse his faith or for political purposes or for profit. That is not what this administration is about. That is not what being a leader is about. And this misinformation out there is it's bad. And it is dividing, it is caused to divide us. And I want to say one more quote. This is what Political covered every year. And I said this at the top of my answer: Transgender Day of Visibility is on March 31st. This year, March 31st just so happens to be also Easter, the date of which changes every year. That's how I started out, and that's how I end.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corinne. Why are the U.S. and Israelis meeting virtually today instead of having that in-person meeting on Rafah?
So, as you know, I can confirm that there is a virtual meeting happening today with both U.S. official, Israeli officials to discuss Rafah, the situation in Rafah, and obviously the next steps that we have been hearing that the Israeli government wants to take. This is following the discussions that we all talked about last week with the Israeli Minister of Defense and his delegation. And this conversation today is being led by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Look, I think it's important to note that we were able to reschedule this on Friday, and we wanted to move very quickly on this. And today, the meeting is happening virtually because we understand, and obviously you all understand, how important it is to have this conversation. We've been very clear about our concerns about a military operation into Rafah. We know that there are more than 1 million Palestinians who are in Rafah right now, who moved from the north to go into Rafah. And so we want to make sure if there is going to be a military operation, we also know that there are Hamas operators in Rafah as well. But if they're going to move forward with a military operations, we have to have this conversation. We have to understand how they're going to move forward. And I'll say one more thing. When Jake Sullivan was here at the podium not too long ago, he believed and he said that there are alternative ways of doing this, alternative ways of going after Hamas. And so they're going to have the discussion. I think it's important that it happen as quickly as it did, even though it's virtual, and we'll certainly have more to share.
Are there still in-person meetings planned, and if so, when?
We will have more to share on the next steps. We're going to have a readout of this conversation, but I think we scheduled on Friday. Today, Monday, we're having a conversation. We have laid out our concerns about this for some time, and I think it's important that both sides are having this discussion.
Lastly, Speaker Johnson said there would be a vote on Ukraine soon when the House comes back from recess, but he said it would include some innovations like making some portion of it a loan. If that's the only way to get Ukraine aid passed, would the president sign that kind of bill?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals here. We've been very clear. We believe that the Speaker were to put the National Security Supplemental on the floor, obviously includes Ukraine, humanitarian aid, Israel, Indo-Pacific. We believe, and it is fact, that it would get majority bipartisan support on the floor in the House. We saw 70 to 29. It passed out of the Senate. Bipartisan support, overwhelming bipartisan support. We believe it would get overwhelming bipartisan support if he would put it on the floor. That's all he needs to do. And so that's what we believe the Speaker, how it should be moved forward. I'm just not going to get into hypotheticals. Go ahead.
Specific decisions to come out of the Rafah meeting today?
I'm not going to get ahead of the meeting. We will have a readout of that meeting. I'm not going to get ahead of it.
The Israelis bombed Iran's consulate building in Damascus today, apparently killed an Iranian military commander. Did you know about this in advance? You concerned this was an escalation?
So look, I'm aware of the reports. Our team is looking into it, so I'm not going to get ahead of anything just yet. But obviously we're aware of the reports and our team is looking into it. I'm just not going to go beyond that.
If I could, do you have an update on how to pay for the new bridge? Have you had conversations with House Republicans about this?
So as I mentioned at the top, we the Department of Transportation was able to release $16 million, which obviously is going to be really important, kind of a down payment, if you will, on getting on getting that bridge rebuilt. We're going to have continued conversation with the state of Maryland to get a sense of how much this is going to cost, and we have said we're going to certainly continue to talk to Congress to get some assistance here. The president has been very clear. He's going to be there for the people of Baltimore. This is a whole of government approach, and we are going to do everything that we can to make sure that that bridge gets back up. I don't have anything further to share on congressional conversation, but that's a commitment that the president has made.
Thanks, Green. 60 Minutes reported last night on a connection between anomalous health incidents and a unit of the Russian military intelligence service. What's the White House reaction to that report?
So I'm going to be really careful here. The intelligence community has not concluded that. Obviously, there was an assessment that intelligence community made, and so I would have to refer you to ODNI on their assessment. But that particular piece about Russia, I know that they had not concluded that.
Right. And I know that the intelligence community has said that they still think it's not likely that a foreign power is responsible. How can the administration continue to believe that when you have so many credible U.S. officials who have experienced this saying otherwise?
So look, this is an intelligence community assessment. ODNI can speak specifically on how they got to that assessment, how they got to that conclusion. So I want to be super mindful. What I can speak to is what we have done since 2023, since the Intelligence Committee assessment, and we have taken this very seriously. The president takes U.S. personnel, making sure that they are protected is the most important. A couple of steps that we took, we prioritized investigations into the cause of AHIs and to examine reports thoroughly. Now, this is something that the president directed the departments in the federal government, obviously across the federal government, to do, ensure that U.S. government personnel and their families who report AHIs receive the support and timely access to medical care that they need, and to take reports of AHIs seriously and threat to personnel with respect and compassion. So we have taken some actions that will that the president directed his agencies across the federal government. At any specifics to the intelligence assessment, I would have to refer you to ODNI.
And the Pentagon confirmed another aspect of 60 Minutes reporting today that a Department of Defense official who was in Vilnius for the NATO summit last year also experienced what appears to be AHI. Can you give us any update on that person's condition?
I don't have any update. I'm very careful about speaking to any personnel specific case, so I don't want to do that from here. I would have to refer you to the Department of Defense since that came from the Department of Defense.
Bottom line, are U.S. officials who are working on issues related to Russia, particularly overseas, are they safe?
Look, we are going to continue to emphasize the importance of prioritizing, right? Making sure that personnel are protected, and we are going to do everything that we can. This is something that this president believes is important, and so look, we're going to continue to do a comprehensive examination of the effects here that we're seeing and the potential causes of HI. That's something that we're going to continue to look into. And look, we take this very seriously. This is why we have taken an all government approach and have directed agencies to do the three things that I listed out. This is important. We see this as a important issue that we want to certainly prioritize, and that's what we have been doing since 2023.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Is the president hosting an iftar dinner tomorrow?
So I don't have anything to confirm here. As you know, very early on this month, we put out a statement marking the first day of Ramadan. This is March. Obviously, we did that. The president wishes all who observe Ramadan a safe, healthy, and blessed month. In his statement, he spoke to the appalling resurgence of hate and violence towards Muslim Americans. He also spoke to the need to secure a ceasefire as part of a hostage deal in our efforts to significantly increase humanitarian aid into Gaza and that's something that you've heard us talk about. You've heard us actually take actions in the past couple of weeks, whether it's the pier, whether it's the plane drop, and working with Israel, obviously, to get increase the humanitarian aid. And so we're going to continue to do that. I don't have anything to share with you at this moment.
Dinner, would you announce that in advance the way you do for Hanukkah gatherings or
I
other
just
kinds
don't
of
have
gatherings?
anything to share on an event, an upcoming event at this time. I just don't have anything to share.
On LNG and Ukraine aid, can you say, is the president open to suspending the pause on the administration's pause on new LNG approvals in exchange for Ukraine aid?
So as we said repeatedly, the House needs to pass the bipartisan national security supplemental. I've been saying that. It was the first thing I said when I came to the podium, one of the first things. And we want to see that as soon as possible. We know it would get bipartisan support overwhelmingly if it were to go to the floor in the House. That's what we want to see. As I stated, it's already passed the Senate, 70-29. So it's important to move forward. And we've also talked about, talked about my National Security Council colleagues talked about this as well, is that Ukraine can't afford any more delays. We have seen what's been happening the past several weeks, the past several months in Ukraine. They are losing ground on the battlefield.
So are you saying it's still on the table?
Well, what I'm saying is that we have to pass the bipartisan national security supplemental. That's what we want to see. If we want to,
Is willing to make that exchange?
This is where we are at this moment in time. We want to make sure that national security supplemental is moved forward. It could get bipartisan support. We know it will. We know it would get overwhelming support if they put it on the floor, right? And Congress's inaction has led to Ukraine losing footing in the battlefield. That's what we've seen. That's what we've seen. And so Congress needs to act. It is in order to actually deal with this, in order to give Ukrainians what they need, the brave Ukrainians on the ground what they need. I'm just not going to negotiate from the podium. That's what we've always been very clear from here. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. We know what needs to be done, and what needs to be done is to put that national security supplemental passed out of the Senate in a bipartisan fashion, 70-29. We believe it can get passed overwhelmingly in a bipartisan fashion in the House. I just want to be mindful and not get into hypotheticals from here.
On the reporting about the health incidents, because a lot of these concerns and incidents are happening on the president's and vice president's trip, do you know if the president or vice president have met with anyone who's been impacted by any of these health concerns?
It's a good question. Don't have any readout or any conversations to say or to speak to at this time.
And these officials are saying they're speaking out because they don't agree with the ODNI assessment. Is the president going to, implore Director Haynes to look at these claims more closely?
I mean, there was an assessment that was done, as you just stated in your statement, in your question to me. I would have to, we trust our intelligence community, right? And they put out an assessment, so I would have to refer you to ODNI. I can't get into any more specifics.
So the president is standing by that assessment. That's the end of the road.
He's standing by the assessment. I would have to refer you to ODNI.
Okay. Karina, I have two different subjects related to one topic. When it comes to the Baltimore court, is the president or Democrat, or are you hearing from Democrats, particularly in this building, that there's a concern that Republicans aren't being expedition staff?
I can't speak to that right now. What I can speak to, what the president has been doing. He has said he's going to use a whole of government approach. You heard the Department of Transportation, you heard me at the top say that $60 million has been provided to get that bridge done. And look, we're going to do everything that we can to get the port open as soon as possible, obviously to build that bridge as soon as possible. The timeline is going to be complicated. It is a complicated scenario, so I don't have a timeline on that. Look, we're going to have conversations with congressional members. We're going to certainly talk to them on what else is needed. If there is additional funding, there is going to be additional funding needed to get this done. I'm not going to go into specifics at this time.
Republicans invited to the White House this week or next week to talk about this?
I don't have any schedule about any congressional conversations here happening at the
part 3 of Something on Black News. We will see y'all hopefully tomorrow for selective legislation hearings on Blog Talk and Facebook. So, make sure y'all like to subscribe to Something on Black News. Yeah. I'm out, y'all. Salated CD to the hair. Alright, peace, y'all. I'm in the line now.